Ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday, and it's time to rock and roll. Welcome in, y'all. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. How do you do, my friends? It is great to be with you. I am Rob Brown. The pleasure, as always, is mine. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Thanks for being a part of the show. Hope you're having a fantastic week thus far. An absolutely perfect day today here in the Upstate. Got a chance this morning to get out, walk around outside a little bit. Was not viciously attacked by a herd of a flock of geese. So it was a great start to the day. Back in the network studio, button switches, controls, pulleys, levers, knobs, gears, cranks, shafts. The guy's in charge of every piece of equipment that makes the show go. My man, the great one, the conductor of the Symphony of Sports Sound, the alpha and the omega of sports talk radio, Lonzo, is at the helm. What up, Zoe? I got to tell you, your Listo nickname seems to grow every single day. It does. Every day we're adding Colonel Grudge. I did not mention Colonel Grudge. I did not mention any of the dozens and dozens of hair-related nicknames. Oh, man, it is going to be a tremendous show on the show today. We are going to be crazy, super stupid busy over the next 3 hours of sports talk and entertainment. South Carolina, there's a former player that might be in line to become the next head coach at the NFL level. I'm going to tell you who it is coming up in a little while and how many experts are lined up in that camp believing that he will indeed eventually be wearing a headset on the sidelines at an NFL game in a head coaching capacity. That's coming up very briefly. How much would you pay to own a 165-inch high-definition TV that folds into your floor for storage when you're not using it? Probably not as much as it seems like it's going to cost up front, but we'll talk about that later on. Fight Club at 2:20 today. Lonzo going to walk us through everything you need to know about the world of combat sports. Fantastic shows from AEW. Well, fantastic show from AEW. An okay show from NXT last night. A decent Monday Night Raw earlier in the week. So we got all that lined up for you at 2:20 in Fight Club. Plus, Dana White's had some comments on Conor McGregor. I have no doubt that Lonzo is going to bring that to the forefront at 2:20 as well. Very shortly in the show. It's official. No foreign fans at the Olympics. What does that mean? We're going to talk about that later on. But it is, of course, the beginning of the show, which means it's time to do that thing that we do at the beginning of the show. I've just been informed, Lonzo, for those of you that are watching on the stream right now, I have gone with the backwards non-fitted cap today. By the way, just for fun, this cap, Lonzo, Shalimar All-Star Little League circa 1994, 95. Got the old number 12, the Robert on the side, as I was known in my younger and more formidable days, rocking the mid-90s Little League All-Star cap today. But I've got the luscious mane sticking out the front, and I've already received comments on the text line and via some friends watching the stream that the hair is going to invite untoward comments today, Lonzo. I'm tired of telling people how proud I am of how good I look. Absolutely. Absolutely. No. It is. It looks good too, doesn't it? It looks damn good. The only negative about streaming these shows live, and you can join us on the stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate. You can join us at twitter.com/The Rob Brown Show, or you can search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. All three of those spots, good destinations for you to pick up the stream. Join us here on the stream. Interact with the show live in real time. Literally watch Lonzo and I work. During the breaks, it's really cool. We interact with people in the chat during the break as well. So you kind of get a show behind the show if you join us live in the stream. But the only thing I hate about it, the only negative to getting on this stream, Lonzo, is that I actually have to wake up early and like prepare myself because what did the great Dolly Parton say? It's really expensive to look this cheap. It is what it is. It is what it is. I'm going to disagree. It was a Hawaiian shirt with many colors. That's a utility. It's like the Batman's utility belt of shirts. It's good for everything you need it to go with. See this one today, by the way? Well done to me. Well done to me, if I may say so myself. Well done to me indeed. All right, lunch breakdown. 3 things you have to know. I love to play the intro and then immediately just ignored the fact that it's time for the lunch breakdown. Item number 1, earlier this week, the University of Alabama announced that they were planning on going 100K strong at Bryant-Denny Stadium coming up in the fall. And there were a lot of question marks. How will they be ready? Alabama is a state that has had real issues with the coronavirus. How does that university think they can go 100K strong? Well, now California has said that fans of the 5 Major League Baseball teams based in California could be cheering from the stands on opening day. Governor Gavin Newsom of California indicated Wednesday that ballparks could open for fans for every game this season. The governor said the state and league executives have been working on the details with an optimistic look toward opening day. Quote, "We have confidence that looking forward to April opening day when we are likely to be, if we all do our job and we don't let down our guard, that I have all the confidence in the world fans will be back safely in a lot of outdoor venues," end quote. He said that during a press conference in Long Beach, California this weekend. Now, Governor Newsom did not make any guarantees, adding that another uptick in coronavirus cases could slow down that process even more, and that the modifications necessary would very likely require games to be held at limited capacity with health protocols like mask and distancing still required. But for a state that has been adamantly against having fans in the stands moving forward, for Gavin Newsom to come out yesterday and said that he's optimistic that there will be fans in attendance for opening day, Lonzo, the optimist in me, stirred just a bit this morning when I read those quotes from the governor of California. 100%. It's a great sign. It's an absolutely great sign. Item number 2 on our lunch breakdown. Lonzo, I have a bit of sound for you, my friend. I have just a little bit of sound, a little bit of a video tick here for you that I want to play. This came from ESPN's First Take earlier this morning, and they had a guest on their radio broadcast, on their television broadcast, to talk a little bit about the NFL. And here is what that guest had to say. I put this in the lunch breakdown for one reason and one reason only, and it's to get Lonzo's reaction. This clip is from ESPN's First Take earlier this morning. He said optimistically and then got no sound out at all. All right, well, I guess I get to figure out what's going on with that. Hang on just a second. I'm going to see if I can work on that for you. Oh, there it is. I found it. Let's try that one more time.
Never a consensus that there was a GOAT among quarterbacks before Brady. It was you. Joe Montana was the guy, it seems, that Tom Brady has now released as the consensus GOAT. How do you feel about that? Is there a GOAT in the NFL? Was it you? Has Brady replaced you?
I think Tom has, taken his place on the top up there a long time ago. So he's had a tremendous career. It's fun to watch. And, yeah, everybody always contests over that. But I think if you look what Tom's been able to accomplish in his time that he's played, I think is, puts him definitely up there in the top of the list. There's a lot of great guys. As I said before me, even, you go back to Otto Graham, who won 10 or 11 championships. So it's hard to compare them, but, if you're looking at it, yeah, definitely Tom at that point.
Joe Montana,
so, would you like to respond to that, Lonzo? That is Joe Montana, the guy that gets the most debate about still being the GOAT, saying that to him, Tom Brady is the GOAT, Lonzo. I don't hear you, by the way.
This is funny. I would think that you would have noticed this. Joe Montana said, you have to look at Tom. And what Tom did, he's obviously at the top. Yeah, right. I don't believe that he believes that for a second. I also don't believe that he's sick. I think that was very clever. That's what the best of all time, the greatest of all time, Joe Montana would do to throw everything off. And probably, if you were an analyzer of sound like I am, I probably could take that clip and break it down and get rid of some of the coughing noise. And underneath, I'm sure he's saying, I'm the greatest of all time.
What can I say?
If necessary, by tomorrow, I could prove it.
Challenge accepted, Lonzo. Edit that however you want and could find a way to convince me that Joe Montana wasn't saying that Tom Brady's the GOAT. I accept that challenge. I absolutely do. All right. And finally, item number 3 in our lunch breakdown here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. So last night in the NBA, Donovan Mitchell, one of the better players in the game, was ejected in the Jazz 76ers game. And it was, what's the word I'm looking for? Criminally stupid. Why? Because Spida, a.k.a. Donovan Mitchell, got to a point where he was talking smack. Now, I will be honest with you. The Jazz have been a very physical defensive team, if not a very good one at times. But the fact that players are getting ejected, the fact that officials are running rampant, I pointed out last week the game with Zion and the Pelicans against the, the Bucks, the Milwaukee Bucks, where Zion drew 0 fouls in the fourth quarter. I mean, that should never be a thing. Well, Donovan Mitchell was quite unhappy about it. He went out and said, it's getting bleeping ridiculous. He said, we're tired of it. We're over it. We're angry about it. We want something to happen. We don't know why we're letting this continuously happen. And it got so bad. And this doesn't ever, and I mean ever, happen. But Stephen A. Smith and I are now on the same page. Stephen A. Screamin' A. Smith and myself are in agreement on something. If I counted all the times that Stephen A. Smith and I agreed on something, I don't think I need both hands to count it all the way up. But Screaming A. Smith, again back to First Take this morning, went on the air and complained about the thing I've been complaining about. I'm going to play just a few seconds of what Stephen A. Smith had to say, because after Donovan Mitchell said, quote, "It's tough to have a game like that taken from us," which it absolutely was, as the Sixers knocked off the Jazz 131-123 in overtime. The refs absolutely not just exerted their influence over the game, but took it over. Here's what Stephen A. Smith had to say.
That I think needs to be brought to the forefront, whether it's the NBA's fault because they're bringing a heavy hand on the officials, or whether it's the officials being soft mentally and being overly sensitive to every little thing that's going on with these players. We got a problem in the National Basketball Association right now when it comes to these officials. Listen, the other night, I watched the Los Angeles Lakers go up against Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns, and I brought this up yesterday. And we're talking about the Phoenix Suns being relevant, being exceptionally well coached by Monty Williams, having a star on their squad in Devin Booker, and for some unforeseen reason, only known to the officials, Devin Booker gets ejected. There's not fisticuffs going on here. There's not a fight that broke out or anything like that. What the hell is he getting ejected for? It's bad enough we don't have the fans in attendance because of COVID-19 for the most part. But then on top of it all, you're asking people to watch your product at home on television, and one of the stars, you're going to eject him for that reason? Donovan Mitchell is playing last night. It's overtime. They're balling. They're going at each other. Embiid is in the midst of a 40-19 performance. Ben Simmons, like you said, was balling out defensively. Donovan Mitchell had about 33 points, but it was on 34 shots, which isn't that impressive. I get it, but damn it, he's still Donovan Mitchell. And when you talk about the Utah Jazz, and you're talking about them being in a small market, and obviously people not really rooting for them per se, because nobody wants to see Utah in the finals, because that's what they were alluding to, then you know what? We have to understand that, and we have to say, okay, wait a minute, let's pay attention to what's going on here. Donovan Mitchell gets ejected in overtime of a game? Are you kidding me? Donovan Mitchell, the Utah Jazz. You want people to pay attention, watch the Utah Jazz, and you're going to throw their star out of a game for what exactly?
There you go. I couldn't agree. And he goes on for another probably minute and a half complaining about it. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Especially when you get to the point where you're talking about, and as a fan of a small market team, it sticks me in the craw, man. Having these small market teams that are getting absolutely shafted, unbelievably, by having Devin Booker getting tossed. Why? Because he talks smack. Donovan Mitchell getting tossed. Why? Because he talks smack. It's not like they're doing it on TV. It's not like they're doing it in the press conference. They're doing it on the court between each other. They're chirping, because that's 25% of the game of basketball is getting in each other's head so you can win. It's unacceptable. It's unbelievable. These refs are prima donnas. They've gotten to the point that they are ruining the game of basketball over their own freaking egos. They won't get over that they are not the feature. No one has ever tuned in to watch you officiate a game. And when you are tossing the biggest name in the sport, not because they got teed up too many times, not because they're fighting each other, but because they jawed at each other a little bit on the floor, you are creating a situation where the product becomes untenable. You are creating a situation where people are going to say, why? Why am I going to tune in if the end of the games are going to be so overwhelmingly marred because your stupid little ego must make the game about you instead of about the players? And look, if we get to the end of the year, Lonzo, and the Utah Jazz miss the playoffs or miss the 1 or the 2 seed by a game, we can point back to this one and go, did that change the fate of the NBA playoffs? Maybe. I want the players to be the ones who dictate the fate of the NBA playoffs, Lonzo, not the officials, and I'm freaking tired of it.
So how do we know, going conspiracy theory here, how do we know that this isn't handed down from the top and told to the referees that certain teams and certain players are not necessarily targeted, but you should keep an eye on them? How do we know that? I mean, because in other sports, that's what, you think might be part of it. I'm not saying there is, but there could be. Couldn't there be? Could there be a possibility that maybe some of the owners, maybe the commissioner, I know everyone likes Adam Silver, but let's just say certain markets you want to do better than others. And maybe you tell the referees to look out for that.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist until I am. I have believed for years, that the NFL has a hand in dictating what teams make the Super Bowl. I really do. I believe the NFL, to some degree, tries to push teams towards better or worse finishes. I don't know if that's the case in the NBA, but it does kind of infuriate me that these calls seem to be coming against the smaller sized market teams. Phoenix, Utah, this year, San Antonio, New Orleans. I mean, Milwaukee's a smaller one too, but Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of the 3 or 4 poster childs in the NBA. Zion's growing into that role. But the fact that the Pels got 0 calls in the fourth quarter of a highly contested game between 2 teams that are likely going to be dogging it out into the playoffs, it's hard to tell me that there wasn't some directive there, honestly. All right, we got to take a break. We're way off the clock. 844-GSP ESPN 844-477-3776. Text us at 71307. Start your text with ESPN. We'll read them on the air. Get on our stream, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/The Rob Brown Show, or search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. All different ways to get in touch with the show. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute from right now and talk more about all this, man. It's going to be, I got so much stuff to get through right here on The Rob Brown Show. Rob Lonzo and you, this is ESPN Upstate.
You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
Automotive map. All right, so for those of you that are watching in the stream, first off, hello, good morning. Great to have you along for the ride. You will not be hearing the music on the stream anymore, and the reason why is yesterday we rolled a couple of seconds of an AC/DC tune as a bumper, which is the music that takes us into and out of segments. And YouTube flagged it as a copyright strike. Not a strike. I didn't get a strike, so we're good. But a copyright violation. And so that video, yesterday's video, got removed and cannot be played back on YouTube. And obviously we want to be able to leave these videos up for periods of time. So anyway, we can't play the music anymore because we don't want to have those YouTube copyright violations and have our videos taken down. So you won't hear the bumper music on the stream anymore. You will hear the little liners, so you'll know when we're going in and out of breaks and all that. But that's just for those of you who are watching now and in the future. That's why you didn't hear music going out to break there. And also, Zoe, that's going to be fun for me because I'm going to say, let's go to break, and I'm not going to hear music. So I'm just going to have to get my fingers crossed that you've got the music rolling.
Well, the other thing is, this is inside baseball, but we're doing it as we go. That's how we learn things.
Yeah,
so just look at me.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a thumbs up to let you know that I'm playing the music.
That'll work.
The bigger concern will be at the end of an hour, but Yeah,
that's true. Well, and you know what you can do, even though it'll go on the stream, you can just pop into my ear and not on air, hey, 60, 30.
Or I could do one of those.
You know what the did you finger gun?
No, I was counting down.
You know what this means? You ever seen this one?
It's a C?
Yeah, in TV that means 30 seconds. I don't know why. If you're anchoring on the desk and the floor hand gives you that means you got 30 seconds.
I do know that because we've had some kids here who had just graduated from a local college that was doing radio and TV. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I had to tell you those guys.
And I had to point out to them. I was going to say I had to point out to them that and nobody knows what that means, too.
Those guys who do both radio and TV, I've heard they're kind of all-stars.
Absolutely. I wish I would have went to school for radio. It would have been awesome.
I did. My degree is in broadcast communications. And I took 3 or 4 TV classes. I did not take a single radio class in college, Lonzo.
Well, I went to a recording school, to record bands and things like that. We covered radio for, I don't know, for like an hour or something. We put together a 30-second commercial. That was it.
Here's my question from somebody who didn't take classes. What do you get taught in a semester-long radio school, right? Like everything that I've learned about radio, I've learned on the job, and I don't know how you would, like, short of like a semester where you work towards putting together like a public access show, I guess maybe, but
possibly. But when I first started at Word, I was getting trained for 2 days, and the guy who was training me quit. So I was going off of his notes to learn how to do it. So,
Brian, see you over in the chat. Good to talk to you, buddy. Thanks for jumping in. Steven says, can we get Ken Griffey Jr.'s cutout in the background with Lonzo?
That's up to you. We're coming back. Because we can, if you want.
Yeah, let me think about that.
The Rob Brown Lockdown on Twitter. Tweet at The Rob Brown Show on the Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. I am Rob Brown. Lonzo back in the network studio in charge of everything. All right, let's bring this up real quick. We got to do a short segment to get back on the clock here. So there is a 165-inch foldable high-definition television that is about to be entering the market. The television is called the M1. It is the creation of an Austrian consumer tech company called Seed Entertainment. The television has a remote. At the touch of a button, this TV can rise up from the ground and unfold like Iron Man the Avenger style to the size of a 165-inch flat screen television. It's absolutely ridiculous. The firm unveiled the television earlier this week. It is made up of 5 separate micro LED panels that, when locked into place, look like one uniform display with invisible seams. Manufacturers say micro LEDs are brighter than OLEDs and offer the same benefits of high contrast and deep blacks without burn-in. The luxury object, called the M1, comes out of Vienna, Austria. This company also has offices in California, so it will be available in these United States. The M1 retails, Lonzo, 165 inches, folds out of the floor, 5 micro LED screens that open to 165 inches. Zoe, let's play a little Price is Right. The price tag on this for you is what?
I'm going to go $6,000.
Wow, that'd be great. The price tag on this one, Lonzo, $400,000. $400,000 in order to buy the 165-inch foldable TV that comes up out of your floor with 5 connected high LED lighting panels all put together. It's one of those things, Lonzo. I have no issue with people who get rich in America. I hope to be one of those people sooner rather than later. I want to be a person who can spend $400,000 on a TV that folds up out of the floor and probably has like a sweet, like, wrist-worn remote control that you can't see. It just hologram comes up on your wrist or whatever.
No. If you can afford that, you have someone to change the channels for you. That's how that works.
James, change it to ABC, please. I wish to watch The Masked Dancer. They just have one dude who changes channels. My dad didn't pay to have one kid that watched channels, Lonzo. He had children to make them be the one that changed channels.
Yeah, my mom too. And back in my day, There were no remote controls, and it was like
yes, there were. His name was Lonzo.
Yes, there was. So what I did is finally I stopped sitting on the furniture. I just sit on the floor closer to the TV, so I didn't have to keep getting up. I could just bend forward and change the channel.
So $400K in order to buy this television. I don't have any other input other than that. I want one. It's one of those things, so that I look at, and it's in that category of like the people who own like 400-foot long power yachts, that are basically nicer than every house I've ever lived in. It's one of those things that I look at and I go, that's ridiculous. It's unnecessary. It's over the top. It should not exist. And frankly, I would like 2 of them.
I just wonder if I'm the only one who thought when you were talking about the dimensions is, do I have a wall right now that I could make that fit on?
165 inches is a big damn TV, man.
Yes, that's very big.
That's a big damn TV.
And I would say I don't have that kind of a wall.
I mean, you do. You would just have to get rid of everything on it. Like that's your sacrifice, is you have to give up one full wall of decorative. Well, that's not even true, Lonzo. Because if you go, it folds and it goes down. Now, you would have to build an entire house around it, or you would have to have like a raised platform in front of the wall. It could come up and just cover what's up on the wall. It's a foldable TV. All I'm saying is you would never not host another Super Bowl party if people were basically coming over for a movie theater, But yes, I do want one, to answer your question.
I would have that right next to my pool table that would fold down into the floor when I wanted to watch my TV that would fold up out of the floor.
Oh, fantasies. One day, Lonzo, one day, the Rob Brown Show is going to be heard on 2 million radio stations worldwide, and we will have folding 165-inch, $400,000 televisions. I sense it. I feel it. I'm putting it out in the universe. Quick break. We'll come back here in just a minute from right now, and when we do, there is a former South Carolina football player that might be next in line to be a head coach at the NFL level. Who is it, and what experts are saying about this guy? I'll tell you when we come back. My name's Rob Brown. Lonzo at the controls. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You are listening to ESPN Upstate.
You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
Yo, it's Jay Williams.
I gotta remember to change the banners when we're doing the show. Oh, man. All right, what do we got over here in the chat? Brian said, when I was in high school and during my time in college, I had to help out with the football and basketball, do video, and I went to Greenwood High School and grew up help Josh Norman. And Greg says your British accent wasn't half bad. I can only do like a snarky rich guy British accent. I can't do like the generic, and I can't do a Cockney accent like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins, the Cockney accent, I think it's called. That, all right, governor. That's a Cockney accent, I think it's called. I'm not real great at that one, but I can do like the snarky, rich British guy, which I got to say, when I hit Hollywood, Greg, and make it big, I've come to the realization that I'm going to be very limited in the roles I can play, right? I can either play, basically the rules are going to be, if Kevin James can play the part, I can play the part. And if I'm going to be a bad guy, he has to be a super rich British bad guy. But I don't think anybody's biting on me with the like super rich loaded guy look. I'm not going to be pulling off any Mark Zuckerberg vibes if I go in and become a bad guy in movies.
By the way, I heard part of it as I, ran to the restroom, and you were not doing a British accent. You were doing a rich accent. And from what I understand, there are rich people who are not British.
There are 3. Bezos is one. Gates is one. And I think that's it, actually.
No, Trump. You got to throw Trump in there.
Fair.
Yeah, he's rich. Does not have a British accent. He's got an accent all his own.
I'm very rich. I'm the richest. Many people say I'm the richest rich. That's my Trump. That's my Trump impression.
That's not bad.
No, it's like it's a C plus B minus.
The thing is with impressions, people just have to get what you're trying to go for. If they have to ask you, okay, what was that? Then it wasn't good enough.
It's awkward.
Yeah.
Just get close. Many people say that as long as you get close. The thing with Trump is you have to do the hands.
Yes.
And once you get the hands down, right? Like you have you've got 3. You've got the one finger. If you're doing one hand, one finger, you got to swing it out in front. You can go 2 fingers, but you got to bounce them up and down. But the best one is the open hands, thumbs together. It's this one. You got to put the hands together, work the hands so the people listen to you. And once they're listening, tell them how great you are. That's it. That's a C plus Trump.
Again, but knew what you were doing. And 1 minute, by the way, and Prisma in the next break.
Outstanding. I want you to know I did our Trump impression, and our streaming viewers went from like 10 down to 3 in a second. I wasn't making fun of the guy. I was just doing an impression.
Maybe they just had somewhere to be.
Yeah, let's chalk it up to that.
The question is, did they leave because you were making fun of Trump, or did they leave because
it was
it wasn't good enough to keep them hanging around?
Yeah, tough crowd in here today. Tough crowd. I thought everybody loved me. Clearly they don't. It's going downhill the more I do it, though.
Join the Rob Brown Lockdown on Twitter. Tweet at The Rob Brown Show on the Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob Lonzo with you today. 844-GSP. ESPN's the number to get on the show with us. Text us at 71307. We'll read your text online, 71307. I love this tweet during the break, or this text we got on the text line at 71307, Zoe. It says, bro, you can buy a regular yacht for $400,000. So that's going one of 2 ways. This guy is either telling me that I have to make a decision between a 165-inch floor foldable, top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art television, or I can buy what he calls, Lonzo, a, quote, regular yacht, end quote. I'm going to say this. I love my job. I love my career. I love what we're doing here. Really, I wake up every day. This is the one job I've ever had that I wake up and I'm like, all right, man, let's go to work. I like this stuff. This is great. I can promise you, buying a $400,000 boat, if it's in my future, is way down the line. It's not a regular yacht.
Obviously, this person knows a lot about regular yachts, so it means they probably own one. And Rob and I would love to come and hang out with you on the weekend on your yacht.
Yes, that is correct.
Rob is an expert fisherman. We could go out into the deep water.
It's true. That's true. I'm a great yachter. I yacht all the time.
And this is sports, by the way, to that guy who's already got his fingers in the button. No, so is the next thing. So when does a boat become a yacht?
When it's big.
I don't know. I've seen huge paddle boats. They're not yachts.
When is a boat? Listen.
I
have to talk about this other thing.
And so yachting is a sport also.
According to Wikipedia, to be termed a yacht as opposed to a boat, it has to be a pleasure vessel that is at least 33 feet in length and may have been judged to have good aesthetic qualities. The Commercial Yacht Club, the Commercial Yacht Code classifies yachts as 79 feet and over as large yachts. So 33-foot pleasure vessel with good aesthetics is a yacht. 79 feet or bigger makes it a super yacht. And there you go. You all learned something today alongside Lonzo and I. So the next time you head on down to the local marina zone and somebody says step on the yacht, you can look and go, sir, 29 feet. We're going to go ahead and just stick with the term boat. Okay? All right, that's a boat. Stop trying to upsell yourself.
Don't think I won't do that either.
Don't try to spice it up, Dirt. All right, so let's go to the NFL for just a second. South Carolina has a guy that's going to be a head coach in the NFL the next few years. I legitimately thought that there would be a chance that he might be a head coach this year. And that man is Deuce Staley. Deuce Staley is going to have a very large role on the Detroit Lions coaching staff this year. His new boss, Dan Campbell, believes it could be a stepping stone to the former running back becoming a head coach in the NFL. He spent a decade sharpening his talent with the Philadelphia Eagles on their coaching staff. Staley left the team he once played for to become the assistant head coach and running back coach in Detroit under Dan Campbell. Now, that's the same title that he held during his final 3 seasons on Doug Peterson's staff in Philadelphia. And when Peterson was let go, Deuce Staley was actually in the mix for the head coaching jobs of Philadelphia and Detroit. Philly and Detroit. So, Staley, according to Dan Campbell, is going to have expanded roles outside of coaching this season. He is going to be used as one of the faces for the franchise for media obligations. He is going to be asked to do player evaluations on both offense and defense, and that he will be, quote, kept abreast of the salary cap and what we're trying to do with free agency, end quote, which means Campbell says that he is going to be working with the GM. He's going to be working with the GM's office to help construct this team moving forward. Campbell said, quote, I'm going to use this guy. He's going to be primed and ready to be a head coach when it's all said and done. All his bases are going to be covered. He's going to be able to check off every box and say, all right, I've been there. I've done that. I know I've trained for this, just like Sean Payton did for me, as Dan Campbell was part of Sean Payton's staff down in New Orleans for a few years before he started moving up the ranks as well. Campbell went on to say, quote, he's going to be a true assistant head coach, and if something goes down and he needs to step into my seat, he's ready to roll. That's how I view it. I've got a lot of respect for Deuce, and I think he's a hell of a man. I think he's a hell of a coach. I really do. I believe he's going to be a head coach in this league sooner than later. Now, hopefully later than sooner, but I know it's going to happen, end quote. When the Eagles were looking for their next head coach, a lot of folks, myself included, thought that there was a better than good chance that Deuce Staley might end up getting that gig. I really did. I thought there was a very good chance Deuce Staley would take over that role. It ended up going to former Indianapolis Colts offensive coordinator Nick Sirianni as their next head coach, which made me say, welp, the Eagles are committed to mediocrity. Maybe I'll be wrong. Not ready to say that I am as of yet. But at the time that Deuce Staley was in the hunt for that Philadelphia Eagles head coaching position, he had endorsements from, amongst many others, Darren Sproles, the great running back, LeGarrette Blount, Rodney McLeod, Malcolm Jenkins, the Eagles staple in the defensive backfield, and Brandon Graham, all former or current Eagles who publicly endorsed Deuce Staley to succeed Peterson. Additionally, Howard Eskin of Sports Radio 94 WIP in Philly said that some players had texted owner Jeffrey Lurie to voice their support openly for Deuce Staley. Deuce Staley did interview for the position. Now, I'm going to tell you a story here, a little anecdote. I have a connection here in the upstate that told me that the night that the Eagles decided not to hire Deuce Staley and to go with Sirianni, Deuce Staley was actually drinking. Well, I'm not going to say drinking. He was playing pool. I don't know what else they were doing. I don't care. Whatever. He's drinking. Who cares? Deuce Staley was actually at a hotel right here in Greenville. He was actually hanging out downtown with a couple of other guys, including some Eagles personnel, when he got the call from his agent. This is from a guy, a source in a very large news capacity role here in the area, who called me and said, hey, man, if you want to meet up with Deuce Staley and see if you can talk him onto the show, he is currently at the X Hotel downtown in the bar shooting pool, right? So anyway, I got in the car, I started driving down there, and he called me back, and he said, you might not want to head down there. And I said, why? And he said, my buddy that's hanging out with him said that he just got a call from his agent saying that he did not get the Eagles job and they're taking off. The thought was that Deuce and his gang kind of thought that he was going to get the job, so they were out celebrating in the upstate, and he ended up not getting the job. And part of the reason he wanted to move on from the Phillies organization was for that reason. Now, I don't know that to be true or false on a personal level. I just know that it was verified that he was at that hotel and those things happened. So, I honestly, Zoe, you probably have more exposure to Deuce Staley than I do. I obviously remember his playing days at Carolina. I remember his playing days in the NFL. I have experience from following him more closely since I moved here to the upstate, keeping an eye on his NFL career. Every person that I have talked to about Deuce Staley rates the dude 5 stars, full marks, A+ as a dude and as a coach. And if he got this much traction and he had that many former players stepping up and going straight to the owner to get him some time as the Eagles head coach, so I got to say that Dan Campbell is correct. I think Deuce Staley will be a head coach sometime in the next 3 to 4 years at the very latest.
Well, as far as his playing time goes, he was playing before I moved here, so I didn't get to see the South Carolina playing time, but I did see him in the NFL. And from everything I've heard from everyone around here, it's the same thing that you've heard, that he's a really good guy, really smart guy, and someone who deserves a shot at the top.
Yeah, and look, it's not very often. It happens occasionally. It's not very often. You're going to have a head coach that gets in front of the media and says, hey, this guy that I just hired to be my assistant head coach, this guy that I just hired to be my guy if something goes wrong with me, this guy that I just trusted and just told you is going to be the face of our franchise as much as I am, he's going to get a head coaching job somewhere else, and I'm endorsing him for that. That says something, man. That says something about Deuce Staley, and there's not a lot of that goes on at the NFL level because the coaches don't want that competition. And, of course, they don't want other teams coming calling for their most important staff members, man. Of course they don't. Of course they don't. All right. 844-GSP-ESPN. I give it 2 to 3 years before Deuce Staley's a head coach at the latest. He'll start getting interviews next year. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Quick break. We'll be back right here in a minute to put hour number 1 to bed. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo at the controls, and you're listening to ESPN Upstate.
Prisma.
You're listening to the Rob Brown Show. Let the game come to you. Listen no matter where you go. In Anderson, Clemson, Greenville, and Spartanburg. ESPN Upstate is always streaming on the radio.com app.
Tell you about my friends over at Prisma Health. Prisma Health all around the upstate. When I moved here just a touch over a year ago, when I got in town, one of the first things I started looking around was, all right, where are the doctors? I know I'm gonna need a doctor. I'm going to need healthcare provided. I'm going to need to ensure that I can keep myself as healthy as I can, especially now that I'm in a new place. When I was back home, I had doctors I knew. I had doctors I trusted. I had doctors that I've been seeing for years when I needed one, but I didn't have that here. And Prisma Health immediately flew up to the top of the list. When I was talking to folks around here, they said, look, Prisma Health is available. They have all kinds of services available to you. They've got doctors from a range of backgrounds, so you can work and find one that you like, find one that you trust. There are over 2,400 healthcare providers within the Prisma Health system. And if you go to their website right now at prismahealth.org, not only can you utilize their website to find a doctor, but you can see all the services that they offer. If you're having a specific healthcare issue, go to prismahealth.org. Find out how they can help you, get you in touch with a doctor who you trust that specializes in the healthcare situation that you need to see someone about. They are the official healthcare provider for both the Gamecocks of South Carolina, the Tigers of Clemson, and now they want to be the official healthcare provider of you and your team, your family. It's our friends at Prisma Health in the Upstate.
So my question to you, Rob.
Yes.
How many police vehicles does it need to be before it's considered multiple? Is 2 multiple? I mean, because it's more than 1.
I mean,
I'm asking for a reason.
I'm assuming our parking lot has multiple police vehicles in it right now.
You would be right. There is
context clues, baby. Context clues.
Yeah, and the fact that I keep looking to the right.
Also,
yeah. Just, this day and age, you never know what's going on. So,
what are they doing?
If there was gunplay or something, I might want to duck. I don't know. There's one police vehicle in front of another car and another one behind it, and there's a police officer talking to the person in said car in the middle. And I don't know. They might be meeting for lunch, but if they are, they're not parked in the spot where they would actually be meeting for lunch. So I don't know.
Interesting.
I wonder if one of our news hounds down the hall is out there trying to figure out what's going on.
Flesh out the story, baby. Put boots on concrete.
Well, if something should go awry, we'll be able to break in with, firsthand news of what's going on.
Worst news story I would cover. We had down in Florida about 3 years ago when I was working for the TV news, maybe 4. We had an ice storm, which happens in Florida about once a decade or so. And my boss calls me and he's like, hey man, we don't want to send some of our older reporters out in this. So we need you to go do a live show for our 5 o'clock news, our 6 o'clock news, our 9 o'clock news, our 10 o'clock news. And we need you to be out in the ice storm. Dude, the rain is coming down. It's like half sleet, half rain. It was like 13 degrees. There was not enough north face in the world, and I had to stand out there. By the end of my set, so I had to do the 9 and 10 o'clock news, and I had to go live multiple times during that newscast to tell everybody. And it's crazy because I'm like, why don't you have the meteorologist tell everybody what's happening? And they're like, no, we want to show people. I'm like, well, tell them to look out the window. I don't want to be out here. By the time I got home, the jeans that I was wearing were so coated in ice that they just about stood up on their own when I took them off. It was miserable. I do not miss that.
Well, I'm from Ohio, so that's just like a normal day in the winter there. No. So
I can do the snow. I can deal with snow. I like snow. When ice is falling, like we never get snow. It rained down as ice. It stuck to the ground and iced the roads over. Oh, and that was the best part. Was we couldn't drive on the roads because they were icy, so we had to walk back and forth to our live shots. So we had the choice of walking a half mile, doing the live shot, walking a half mile back, and doing that 10 or 12 times out the course of the night. So we're like, no, we'll just walk over there, hang out, set everything up, and then find a business to duck into and hang out in. There were no businesses open. We were standing like under a balcony on a surf shop front porch in the cold. Because I'd rather be cold than walk 8
That just
miles.
sounds wrong. That sounds wrong, being under an awning in a surf shop during an ice storm.
Yeah.
It just doesn't sound right. All right, 1 minute.
Yeah, turn around and see photos of like dudes surfing and chicks hanging out on the beach in bikinis, drinking margaritas. It was very aggravating.
And we were having a question on the Facebook live feed, wondering if we're making stuff up during. No. There are 2 policemen outside my window right now with another car in between, and I just want to know what's going on. Just naturally curious.
Talk brewed locally.
Oh my God, a hipster! Bring him a microbrew, quick!
This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on, wrapping up hour number 1. Putting that one to bed. Yeah, we finish up where we were saying a second ago. Like I said, I think South Carolina ought to be very proud of Deuce Staley. I think that cat's going to be an NFL head coach very, very soon. I have no doubt about that. Again, he ticked every box. When you tick every box, right? There's when you have players that amount, not just that amount of players, but players with the weight that those players have behind their name coming out to say he's the dude we want. That's big, man. That's big, especially when that coach is qualified. You see that a lot, right? And we see that in the NBA all the time. You'll see players get behind a guy. We want him as our head coach. And you go, yeah, but from a business perspective, he's just not qualified, right? He's just not qualified. Very rarely do you have a guy that seems to tick all the boxes and have players of the weight of a Malcolm Jenkins get behind them. I'm very excited for Deuce Staley. I really thought he was getting the Eagles job, and the fact that he didn't, to me, is one of the reasons that there are people asking questions about head coaching hiring processes in the NFL. At ESPN, just so you know, $400,000 won't buy you much of a yacht. Go take a look at Tiger Woods' yacht and Jerry Jones' yacht. Jerry Jones paid $250 million for his. Look, I could be an incredible radio dude, Lonzo. I'm not going to make $250 million in my lifetime. JJ got a boat for $250 million. Hashtag goals. All right, 1 hour in the books, 2 to go. Coming up in the next hour of the show, we've talked about Tom Brady. There is a discussion going on about the GOAT. And one of the guys in that discussion has said Tom Brady is the GOAT. We'll get you that audio plus the Olympics. Major breaking news out of the Olympics this week. We'll break that down as we're just a couple of months away from getting that international competition kicked off and so much more. Coming up just around the corner, hour number 2 of The Rob Brown Show is next. I'm Rob, he's Zoe, and you're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on ESPN Upstate.
ESPN Upstate, WYRD Greenville, WORD Spartanburg, W249TL Greenville, W246CV Spartanburg, WFBC FM HD3 Greenville, a radio.com sports station.
All right. Nope, that's not the one I want. There's the one I wanted. Ethan says, Mark does his restaurant reviews on Facebook Live on the ESPN Upstate channel. He did. I'll throw a little free plug out there. He did Stathakis's restaurant, Stack's Original, the other day. And here's why he's earned the free plug to me, Zoe. On Thursday nights, Stack's Original does breakfast for dinner. That's right, breakfast for dinner. They have 14 or 15 different omelets, bacon, toast, grits. Last week, went over to Stack's Original on a Thursday night and did breakfast for dinner, and I got to tell you, it was absolutely incredible. So, yeah. But no, actually, we need to get, we may very well have to get, now that we've got this set up, we can do the stream. Just to test it out, we may have to have Mark Ryan join us here on the show and see. So if we put Mark, hang on, Zoe, I'm thinking about this. If we put, we could do Mark on the show off of my laptop, right? Yeah, I input sound. So we could do Mark on our show on my laptop, send it back to you, and then from you back to me to go out on the street.
Yeah, because multiple Comrexes, I think, causes a problem.
But we could put them on the Facebook or on the Yard stream, and it would still go out over the air.
Yes.
Okay. I like it.
Or would it?
Yeah, it would, because so it would come out audio wise. Because the way we have it wouldn't.
Because it's not originating here first. It's originating there. And what you're putting into StreamYard through your computer is getting fed from here. So it's something we'll have to work on.
All right, catch up on what's going on.
ESPN Upstate.
I'll think
Warning.
And check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show goes right now. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. My name is Rob Brown. Back at the palatial ESPN Upstate Network studios. The man in charge of buttons, switches, lever knobs, gears, pulleys, shafts, cranks, and everything else. The great one, Lonzo, the conductor of the Symphony of Sound. 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text us at 71307, 71307. So I want to get back into this discussion for just a second. Last week, I complained to you guys because in a very important game, a hugely important game between the Pelicans of New Orleans and the Bucks of Milwaukee. The Pelicans were giving Milwaukee everything they wanted and more. And I'm not bringing this up because it's my team, although I did watch this game very closely because it was my team. Got to the fourth quarter. We're talking a 4-point basketball game. And in that game, fourth quarter, the Bucks were getting to the line frequently. The Pelicans got 0 foul calls to send them to the line. None in the fourth quarter. They lost by 4 points. Then, just a few days ago, the Phoenix Suns were taking on the Lakers of LA. There was some smack talk going on the floor between Devin Booker, superstar for the Phoenix Suns, and a couple of Lakers players. Well, Devin Booker threw a bounce pass to an official, turned around, got into it just a little bit with a couple of Lakers players. Boom, ejected from the game. The Suns' best player in a hotly contested game, tossed out. Last night, the 76ers taking on the Utah Jazz. Another close game, this one in OT. The Jazz dropped one to the aforementioned Pelicans just a few days ago and needed to get back into their winning ways. Well, overtime game against the 76ers, and Donovan Mitchell, one of their better players, gets tossed from the game from talking smack. About a week and a half ago, back to the Pels, J.J. Redick, New Orleans, in the midst of a very, very contested game, and another one that was I think, going to be coming back at the end of the year as a reward as the Pelicans were knocking off the Celtics. J.J. Redick had a tech earlier in the game. That was questionable. He goes to the rack. He gets fouled. He comes down on the opposite side of the play. He turns around. He throws a curled bounce pass to the official. And as he does, the official blows the whistle, tees him up, and tosses J.J. Redick, who was finally actually having a freaking half-decent game for New Orleans. So, you've got all these ejections. You've got these ejections of big-time players that are mucho importante to their teams in critical games. All of these games are games that will have an impact on the playoffs. So, we get to the end of these games. You got players getting tossed left and right. Well, last night, Donovan Mitchell had enough. He gets to the postgame. I can't play what Donovan Mitchell said because my dude was so angry, knowing that he's going to get fined, is dumping F-bombs, complaining about the officiating in the game, which he was spot on correct about. It was awful. The officiating was bad. They were officiating in ways I don't understand. They get to a point where Donovan Mitchell's getting ejected in a critical mass game because of on-court smack talk between players. It's really unbelievable. The NBA has a massive problem. And they're not the only ones. We've talked about this with baseball as well. We've talked about this with the NFL as well. We're getting to the point where we are seeing officials who are officiating off of their ego instead of officiating the way the game should be officiated. And it's having not just an impact on individual games, it's starting to have an impact on legitimate playoff races. I mean, straight up playoff races. It is embarrassing. Like, straight up embarrassing. I hate it. I hate it. Donovan Mitchell just absolutely started ripping it off last night. Stephen A. Smith, a guy that I very, very rarely agree with, he started popping off as well. He went on First Take this morning. They played an edited version of what Donovan Mitchell had to say, and Stephen A. Smith started popping off. Now, I played you a little bit of the sound from what he had to say earlier. Now, I'm going to run you back because he went on for about 6 minutes. I'm just going to pick a random spot, just a random spot in Stephen A. Smith's diatribe and play it for you. And here's the fun part about it. I'll play you a few seconds of Stephen A. Smith's 6+ minute rant about it. And what you're going to find out is that it doesn't matter at what part of the diatribe I press play. I'm going to agree with whatever Stephen A. Smith had to say because he is spot on correct. Then I got a couple of texts to respond to, but here's just a little bit more of what Screaming A. Smith had to say about how bad this officiating has gotten.
It's not a fight that broke out or anything like that. What the hell is he getting ejected for? It's bad enough we don't have the fans in attendance because of COVID-19 for the most part. But then on top of it all, you're asking people to watch your product at home on television, and one of the stars, you're going to eject him for that reason? Donovan Mitchell is playing last night. It's overtime. They're balling. They're going at each other. Embiid is in the midst of a 40-19 performance. Ben Simmons, like you said, was balling out defensively. Donovan Mitchell had about 33 points, but it was on 34 shots, which isn't that impressive. I get it. But damn it, he's still Donovan Mitchell. And when you talk about the Utah Jazz and you're talking about them being in a small market and obviously people not really rooting for them per se because nobody wants to see Utah in the finals because that's what they were alluding to, then you know what? We have to understand that and we have to say, okay, wait a minute, let's pay attention to what's going on here. Donovan Mitchell gets ejected in overtime of a game. Are you kidding me? Donovan Mitchell, the Utah Jazz. You want people to pay attention, watch the Utah Jazz, and you're going to throw their star out of a game for what exactly? And this is the kind of stuff that's been going on for quite a long time. It started regressing, obviously, because of the malice at the palace in Auburn Hills from years ago. With Ron Artest and those boys running into the stands, we got all of that. The dress code soon followed and all of this other stuff. We got all of that too. You want to ingratiate yourself with the masses in America, okay? Because over 60% of the American population is white. You got black folks out there in the NBA. You know, when they got into the fight, some folks said, hey, you know what? This could alienate the masses from really supporting your product. We got it then. But now we're talking about the year 2021, and you literally can get thrown out of a game for passing gas. I mean, you can't even sit up there and summarily dismiss that notion because you see too many ejections, too many technical fouls being handed out, and you find yourself scratching your head for what? For what? The other day, Montrezl Harrell got a technical foul for screaming and one after he made a basket. What?
Yeah. Stephen A. Smith, like I said, takes a lot to get me to agree with Screaming A, but he's spot on. So, Montrezl Harrell got a tech for screaming and one. And one. That's it. Which, by the way, if I'm sitting here at the house and I throw trash over into the trash can, which I'm like 8 of 10 in the last 2 days, by the way. I mean,
we'll have to take your word for it on that. Yeah. Okay.
Like 8 of 10. If I throw trash in and I like fall back and I hit my elbow or something, and one. I got 2 things I yell when I throw something in a trash bin. Kobe or and one. And that's it. It's harmless. Harold got a tech called on him and you know what that is? That's an official going, oh gosh, this NBA player is making the game about him and not me. I better let everybody know that I'm here and in control of this game. It's important for officials to have control of the game. It is not important for officials to be in control. Screaming A is right. Spida is right. Everybody's right. And everybody's getting tired of it. And I'm afraid that what Stephen A. Smith said, Zoe, is correct. It's going to get to a point where the officials are having so much impact on the game, it's just not going to be fun to watch anymore. I'll go back to college ball.
See, not having heard the and one and how it was said, I mean, you can get up in someone's face and say and one, and you can definitely be teched. You can have a certain tone to it. I'm not taking the referee's side, but I think tone and how something is said can cause someone to get teched. So I don't have a problem with that. And the other problem I do have, though, is, and I'm not trying to be funny here, but I think passing gas should be a tech.
I've met some people that I would tee up for it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I've been particularly on a wrestling mat with someone who was extremely gassy, and
that's called strategy, Lonzo.
Well, the referee had to keep stepping back.
Can't pin me if you won't get him within 3 feet of me.
Oh well, it happened because I had to get out of there. But so passing gas, and again, I know it's funny, but at the same time, if someone passes some raunchy gas in the direction of an official, it's definitely techable, I would say.
Yeah, look, I mean, if I'm sitting at a table and you come by and crop dust me, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call the tee up on you, absolutely.
So there are times where I think that they should throw the tech, and I think part of it is you're kind of looking at every tech and trying to, if you take some of them out of context, it may look like the referee is being picky or picking on a certain player, but you don't know what led up to that. And there are cases, absolutely, some of the ones that you're talking about were ridiculous, but then there are other cases where the player has been hounding that referee an entire game, or maybe from a game before, and is mentioning things, and they're not going to forget that, and they're going to make them pay for it.
That sounds to me like you got a referee with a personal vendetta, which means he's incapable of being objective about the game itself.
There is no way that a referee can be 100% objective.
I don't disagree with that. I demand that they perform as if they are, though, right? If you, and this is true, here, I'll say this, and this is true, both players and officials, all right? No player should ever be teed up for saying and one after getting a foul and making a basket, ever. You're not, short of and one and then just punching the guy in the jaw. There is no situation. I don't care if he gets nose to nose with the guy. I don't care if he screams it at the rafters. I don't care if he looks at the crowd, hands out, gladiator style. Are you not entertained? And one. I don't care what the situation is. That's not a tech. It should never be a tech. That is one of the most. There are little kids playing YMCA ball that get fouled and scream and one at the other team. If you aren't tough enough to have a guy after you foul him and he makes the basket anyway tell you and one, you ain't tough enough to play in the league. And if you are an official and you can't take critiques from coaches and players and them chirping at you for doing a bad job, then you're not good enough, you're not tough enough to be an official either, because I got news for you. That's going to happen all the time, forever, at every level. I used to officiate middle and high school league football games down in Florida. So I officiated middle school games as a lineman. And I had middle school coaches coaching, what, how old are you in middle school? 13, 12, 13 years old? Coaching 12 and 13-year-olds that would walk up to me and get in my ear, you bleeping blew that bleeping call. You know that? That's a middle school coach, dude. And you're taking it at that level. If you can't handle that, go find a different job. It's not mandated you're an official.
There's a difference between a middle school coach doing that to you and a middle school player doing that to you. If the coach does it, you probably are going to let it go. If the player does it, you right away got to throw a flag.
Cool, right? Cool. I personally, no. Or, and you're right, I'll give you one case where, all right, there's some question marks. I had a high school player once that came up to me and asked me what the blank was that call. And I went, dude, you don't like the call? That's cool. I'm even the official that you can come up to me and go, hey, man, why'd you make that call? And I'll walk through it with you. And you can call me on the carpet. I make bad calls. Every official makes a bad call. It happens to the best of them, all right? But if you come over 2 or 3 times and you jaw and throw some profanity, and I don't care about profanity, all right? Y'all, I'm going to give you a little secret. If you hang out for me off the air, you're going to hear me cuss, all right? It is what it is. I'm on the court. It doesn't even bother me that much. I don't care. Whatever, man. It's just words. To me, it's just words.
So you're saying there's no code of conduct that you're taught as a referee that says that's unacceptable? Because I got to believe there is.
Honestly?
So you're letting it slide. I mean, that's on you. That's to each individual.
Honestly, no. I mean, there's you're basically told to officiate in a way to minimize non-playing conflict between the teams. If a guy comes up,
and I'm just saying, cursing, usually leads to conflict.
I mean, again, to me, I don't care. If somebody comes up to my face and says, heck, Zoe, I had a dude Monday night all up in my Twitter DMs telling me I ain't bleep, you ain't bleep, blah, 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 blah. And you know what my response was? All right, dude, have a good night. Good luck. Wish you the best in your future endeavors. That's it. That's the reaction. Because it doesn't do anything.
Probably not the first time that person has heard that.
It doesn't do anything to me, right? It doesn't. But it's just words.
By the way, we have breaking news.
Oh, do we?
Yes, we do. The Steelers have signed Ben Roethlisberger to a new contract for the 2021 season. That is that's breaking news because I thought for sure he was going to retire, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Okay,
I did not. I thought they'd restructure.
Should he retire?
I don't know, man. The Steelers went 11-0 to start the year. And he had a big hand in that.
And then he looked like he was 57 years old after that.
Tell you what, let's do this. Let's finish this discussion. Let's come back and talk Big Ben in the next segment. I didn't plan on doing a Big Ben segment, but we might as well. Let's do that. So, as far as the NBA goes, here's what I'm going to say. You need mentally tougher officials. You need officials who are better judges of when conflict resolution becomes necessary. All right? If Montrezl Harrell says, and one, that ain't a tech. If JJ Redick throws you a bounce pass, that's not an ejection. If Donovan Mitchell jaws at Joel Embiid, that's not a tech. It's just not. If they get physical, punches, pushes, start getting thrown, call it. I'm good with that. But all the ejections we just talked about, Redick, the no calls against the Pels against the Bucks, the ejection of Booker, the ejection of Mitchell, garbage. Garbage. If Zoe and I perform that way, we get canned. End of discussion. Quick break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Talk about Big Ben's new contract, all that more around the corner. I'm Rob. He's Zoe. It's the Rob Brown Show right here on ESPN Upstate.
You're listening to the Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
All right, so
oh my goodness, y'all. We got a Mark Ryan appearance in the stream. How about that? How about Mark showing up? Let's see. Why is so the stream's not going out to Twitter? I don't think. Is it? I guess it is. Oh, yeah, it is. All right, cool. It didn't yesterday. And y'all, you got to bear with me. You got to bear with me as we learn. Because Zoe and I we honestly, when I tell you we're learning this stream, we spent, God, I don't even know how long just trying to get the audio problems worked out. So we didn't, we kind of did a couple of streams off the air playing with this stuff, but we didn't get to do a lot of stream time as far as really learning the inner workings of using it while we're also trying to do the radio show, which is obviously a priority here. So, but we're figuring it out. All right.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, Zoe.
When we come back, make sure you read the breaking news thing.
Our new thing, yeah.
Yes.
Guess I should go pull that up. Let's see. Where did it go? It's in my email somewhere.
I have noticed that Mark Ryan is up there double posting. By the way, Mark, you might want to check that out. I could delete it, but maybe you should do it.
Double posting.
Well, he not posting, but replying.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's the same reply twice.
So I figured out what happens with that because I was trying to figure it out too. Well, no, he shouldn't be able to. Let's see, where did he do it from? ESPN Upstate. Oh, it did come in twice. When we post, I didn't know this though. When we throw a chat here in the StreamYard chat, it sends it to all the different everywhere that we're hosting. It sends that comment onto that thread as well.
Oh, okay. So when I reply on my Facebook page, it's not going to the StreamYard?
When you reply on your personal Facebook page, like if you reply from your Facebook page, it'll show up in our StreamYard just like if a listener did.
Oh, okay. Well, then I wonder, one of us can I can delete it. I mean, he said the same thing. He said the same thing, but I don't know if it'll let me.
I can do it.
No, I got it. All right, I deleted it. At least I believe I did.
And I'll go back live on the video in a second, but I am blowing my nose and taking in some decongestion, and I don't want you guys to have to look at that. All right, let's go back to, there we are. Hello. I have to use the old up the nostril decongestant there. And no, I don't necessarily need somebody grabbing a screen grab of me jamming tubes up my nose.
I kind of want to see it. I wouldn't screen grab it, I promise. I wouldn't know how to do such a thing.
Once we bump up the streaming numbers, I want to do do like a weekly contest. Whoever can grab the most ridiculous screen cap of me and Zoe wins a prize.
It will always be a me because I haven't seen you freeze, but mine freezes all the time. It's weird.
I haven't frozen on your end?
No.
That's weird. You freeze on mine a lot. Don't freeze. It'll be like a second and a half or two of you buffering, and then it catches you back up.
30 seconds. And you can tell when it gets warm in the studio because Lonzo's hair goes up. It's always about the same time every day when the sun reaches this side of the building.
In my new contract, I'm going to write that I want thermostat control.
Good luck with that. I hope you win. You'd actually have to be in studio.
I was going to say, maybe by next contract, I'll be back in studio.
All right, here we go.
Dispensing real, unfiltered sports talk every weekday noon to 3. This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Breaking news out of the National Football League. I haven't done a Chris Berman in a minute either, Lonzo. That's a B-plus Berman, too. Raiders. Breaking news on ESPN Upstate, powered by Radio.com Sports and presented by BetQL. Become a better sports bettor. Get smarter to beat the books. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com today. Ben Roethlisberger has re-signed a contract with the Steelers of Pittsburgh. He will be back this year. The Steelers announced a new contract for the quarterback just a few minutes ago. They did not disclose the terms, though I fully suspect that Ben Roethlisberger probably took a little bit less money. Roethlisberger said in a statement issued by the team, quote, "It is my greatest honor to be a Pittsburgh Steeler and give my all for this organization. I am grateful to be at this stage of my career and more than happy to adjust my contract in a way that best helps the team address other players who are so vital to our success. I love this game and love to compete, and I believe in this team and my ability to deliver when called upon. It all starts with great preparation, and I am ready to go." Ben was originally scheduled for get this number, Lonzo, for a quarterback of his age, a $41.2 million cap hit if he would have kept his contract the same. $41.2 million. That's like what? That's about 24% of the salary cap. Now, we don't know if it's going to go up or down, and I suspect that sometime next week, based on what I'm hearing from the Players Union and the NFL, we're likely going to have salary cap news sometime in the next week. But based on what we just heard, it's probably going to move. Now, up or down, we don't know. But $41.2 million worth of cap hit is a pretty extreme number, if we're being honest. The Steelers said, quote, we were able to come to an agreement with Ben Roethlisberger on a new contract for him to return to the Steelers in 2021. We know that Ben can still play at a high level and do special things for this team. Our goal remains the same, to put together a roster that will compete for another championship. We are happy that Ben will be one of our leaders to help us accomplish that goal. Roethlisberger turned 39 earlier this week, 33 touchdowns, 10 interceptions last year, his first major elbow surgery following a season-ending injury of the 2019 season. So a couple of angles that we got to look at this at. The first is the injury concerns. There is no doubt that Ben Roethlisberger has been having injury issues the last couple of years. So that is a massive risk. It is absolutely a massive risk that Big Ben could go out in week 1 or 2 and they got to go right back to a backup. And by not having a backup quarterback ready, by not having an opportunity to bring in another quarterback via the draft or via free agency, it creates a situation where if Ben goes down, the Steelers team might find themselves in trouble. Second thing that has to come up is, can Ben Roethlisberger perform at a level that makes him a signature quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers? And the answer to me, Lonzo, is probably. I need to see the terms of the contract before I decide if I thumbs up it or thumbs down it, right? That's what it comes down to. You know the numbers are coming down. Big Ben basically said it in his statement. The Steelers basically said coming out of the season that if Ben was coming back, there would have to be a restructure. The reality of the situation is those numbers are coming down, but I got to see where they are. I would even say $30 million of a cap hit is probably too much for what Big Ben is still capable of, but I got no issue with him staying on this team, Lonzo. The dude was performing last year, minus the injuries. The dude was putting up acceptable numbers for a starting quarterback. I'm fine. I don't think he has much left. I don't think he's getting a 45 like Brady is, but I got no problem with him coming back for another year.
Yeah, I just pulled up the stats, 65.6 completion rate, almost 4,000 yards completed, 33 TDs and 10 interceptions, and a QB rating of 94.1, which is a lot higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But, there was definitely a drop-off in the last 4 or 5 games, maybe more than that, when they just started losing. They looked like they were unbeatable for a while, and then there was that drop-off. And some of it, I think, was Ben. He looked like he got old before our eyes. He already is old, but he was starting to act his age. If you get first half of the season from 2020 Ben Roethlisberger, then you're in good shape. If you get second half, then there's a problem.
Yeah, and that's what concerns me is those last few games, right? That you went to 11-0. My boy Pittsburgh, Tony, still owes me a brewski because I told him going into Week 12, not only did the Steelers have an L coming, but I thought they had a few L's coming. Here's the thing, and I'm guilty of this myself. I think we kind of get to a point where we look at records, and I understand who was it? Who was the coach that said you are who your record says you are? And I think there's a little bit of truth to that, but it's not 100% accurate, right? The Steelers were 11-0. Did I think they were the best team in the NFL? No, I did not. I said that on the air. Weeks like 9 through 12, I was like, the Steelers are not as good as their record indicates that they are. Same with the opposite was true with the Bengals. The Bengals were better than a 4-win team before Joe Burrow got popped, right? They were better than that, than their record indicated. So, the concern I have is that the Steelers might be looking at a team that started 11-0 behind that quarterback and thinking to themselves, all right, we can bring him back, and ignore the fact that they fell apart in the last 5 weeks of the season, and ignore the fact that they bombed in the playoffs. God, I'll never, dude. So that game in the playoffs against Cleveland beat the dog snot out of the Steelers. I beat the absolute dog snot out of them. And Big Ben, here's the thing though, didn't look bad in that game. He had a couple of picks. What did he have? 2 picks in that game, maybe 3. But he also had a handful of touchdowns. Now, I could argue that that's because late in the game, Cleveland kind of switched to a bend but don't break. Let them score, but they're going to eat up, 6 minutes per drive kind of defense. And that might be accurate. But when it comes down to it, man, I'm ultimately looking at a football team here that had a better than average quarterback, They've decided to bring him back, and they reduced his numbers. I don't have an issue with it. I think Big Ben's got 1 or 2 years left in him. Top end, though. He's not, like I said, he's not getting to Brady status. That dude's game is going to get away from him at 41 at the latest, or at the earliest, maybe 42. So maybe 2 seasons left. But yeah, if I'm the Steelers, if he wants to play, big contract hit for him to come back. And it hurts when you got a legend like that, when you got a guy that's made your football team, when you got to get to that point. But they got to that point, and look, it's up to Ben. He could have walked away. He could have left and said, you know what? Had an 11-0 run, just didn't get it done. I'm going to walk it. He decides he wants to play. That's fine. But Zoe, it's hard to separate sometimes. Legends got to play the business side of the game too.
The other problem that I have with him coming back is I think he has the potential to be benched if he looks really bad. And that doesn't look good for your legacy. When you could have walked away having a pretty good season, even though you lost a playoff game with the Super Bowls under your belt and everything. But now you have the potential. Ben Roethlisberger has the potential to be benched somewhere within the season, because I'm worried that what we saw near the end is what we're going to get at the beginning of this year.
844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text us at 71307. Start your text with ESPN. Zoe, this text is targeted at you. ESPN, I wrestled with a kid in high school that would take half an onion and rub it all over his body before matches or tournaments while wrestling, end quote. Wow.
Yeah, people don't really think about the lengths that some people will go to get an advantage. And the dude who had gas on me was rough, because every time I flipped him, he let it rip, and the referee was standing way back. So an onion, I can't imagine that. The worse than the gas thing, was a dude I had to wrestle who had more body hair than anybody working at the station, and he supposedly was a junior in high school. That's just, you don't want to see that when you go out and you see the guy and there's like hair coming out of the singlet everywhere, and knowing that you got
I respect Greco-Roman wrestling. I respect it. It wasn't never for me, but I respect it. I get it. I get the trial by combat element of it. I respect the dudes who do it. But I got to tell you, Zoe, I have never, in 14 years of broadcasting, I have never had a wrestling segment that didn't devolve into the gross things that wrestlers do in competition. Yes, we've brought up Roland Gardner. I brought up when they took the wrestling out of the Olympics. I have brought up Big Ten wrestling tournaments because Big Ten wrestling tournaments, those things are like Super Bowls up in the Midwest, man.
Oh, yeah,
they're
awesome.
Huge. I watch them. It's great. But I have never in 14 years had an entire wrestling segment that didn't end with, and then this one time this dude did this gross thing. Not once in my career, Lonzo. And here we are again. Same
By the
situation.
way, I thought of one other thing, and this is a little more recent. One of the tournaments my son was in when he was wrestling, this dude had to shave in between matches in the tournament because the hair would grow out so much. He was an Italian child, and he literally had a electric shaver with him to shave in between matches, and it was an amazing thing to watch. And it's like, dude, do you like go to sleep and wake up with a full beard? How does that work? But before every match, the referees would check his face and send him to his coach, and he would have to shave.
Oh, because I guess you could you
can
burn somebody.
Yeah, I've been face burned. It's not fun.
All right, I changed my mind. Y'all, we got to cancel wrestling. Hashtag cancel culture. We got to cancel wrestling. Y'all are gross. Y'all are just gross, man. We got dudes rubbing onions in all over their bodies. We got dudes farting in other dudes' faces for a competitive advantage. We got dudes that are rubbing their faces and chest hair against us. We got to cancel wrestling because it's gross. Y'all are gross. Y'all are gross.
Who would you rather wrestle? Onion body, hairy body, or gassy dude?
Do you understand that I was opening this discussion of trying to elevate wrestling as a legitimate sports talk segment. I'm trying to elevate it, and Zoe hits me with, would you rather wrestle hairy body Sasquatch, onion boy, or fart tank? Which one? No, Zoe, I'm trying to help you, and you, the wrestling guy.
I just want to point out that I pinned the hairy dude in like 46 seconds. The wrestlers always remember losses and wins, and even though it was 30-something years ago, I remember that. So, and Case, and we know that the host of that show for men is watching or listening. We're talking about high school wrestling and college wrestling, so it's okay for you to listen.
Greco-Roman wrestling.
Yeah, it's okay for you to listen.
And again, I would just like to point out that the best wrestling story Zoe has is I pinned a man full of body hair in 46 seconds, or
I also got in trouble for doing that because I pinned him too fast, and I had to do 500 squats.
What do you mean pin too fast? Isn't that the goal?
I pinned the guy too fast.
I'm sorry that you threw 6 touchdowns last night, quarterback. Unacceptable. I need 500 stadiums by the end of the week.
That's something else that happens in wrestling.
You guys are weird. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get
you're
you.
right.
I don't get y'all. I don't. I mean, do your thing. I respect it. I don't get y'all. Y'all are weird. Quick break. Back after this. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's ESPN Upstate.
You're listening to the
Oh, man.
It's funny, the dude who had to shave, I know his name too, but I won't say it because I remember his name from that tournament. It was a tournament in Walhalla, by the way.
Walhalla?
Yeah, you go to Walhalla. There's like only one way in and then only one way out. It's kind of weird there. So if you ever have to go to Walhalla, just be careful.
I got nothing. Like I said,
it's one of those places where horror movies are made. You know, one of those towns types. I mean, it's a decent town, but there's literally only one way in and out, at least as far as we could find. That's also where they said my last name's Reitzel, as you can tell if you're looking at Facebook. When they call out the name of the wrestler and tell them what mat they have to be on during a tournament, and my son, they called his name as Reitzinelli. And it's like, Dad, is that me? It's like, I don't know. And this was an over-the-top announcer who thought he was a radio guy. Okay, so it was interesting. But Reitzinelli, that's the worst pronunciation of my name ever. The body hair thing, though.
When we talk about your sport, the forefront is fart guy, body hair guy, and onion rubbing guy. I'm just saying, y'all need to police yourselves better, man. Y'all need to police yourselves.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
I'll be umpires.
Back in the day when I was wrestling, though, there wasn't as many restrictions. I don't know if they would have made hairy dude shave. Maybe they would have, because there's probably some sort of health violation or something. The fact that they made the one kid shave in between matches, they would have had to make the dude I'm talking about shave. And it would have been full body, because that stuff was like puffing part of his singlet out, in places, like especially in the back. Lots of back hair.
Y'all are gross. Y'all are just gross. For real. Y'all just gross. I thought baseball clubhouses were gross. Y'all are gross.
I gotta say, still a football locker room is worse than a wrestling locker room.
Not a chance.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Not a chance. I mean, football players are gross, but they're not like that gross.
Well, there are some things football-wise that I just cannot say, even on Facebook. So, not that I did, but
I'm gonna tell you, the best tweet via emoji is that one right there, Lonzo. Just a stop sign.
Yeah,
stop.
Yeah, seeing who that is, I've seen that multiple times.
That's hilarious.
You would think after 28 years, she would realize when I see that something is bothering her.
It makes me want to do it more.
Yes, I can't help it. Yeah, QC Kinetics in the next break.
10-4.
By the way, the police situation has ended about 20 minutes ago.
Is resolved?
It wasn't a standoff. I don't want to give false information. It probably was a routine traffic stop, but it took like 20 minutes. So, and the person driving the vehicle was out of the vehicle, then they came back and got in and drove away. And in between, the officers were talking to the person in the passenger seat. So who knows? I don't know what it was, but the fact that it took 2 police cruisers to take care of it. And there were police SUVs too. I haven't seen them before. Probably a police SUV in this area would probably be a little bit smarter, because there's lots of off-road incidents, I'm guessing.
New favorite comment on the stream.
Yeah. That's also every day. So, I mean, yeah. 1 minute. I could use the excuse that I'm sick, but that's not going to work. It's worth a shot.
I have had significant others that listen to the show every day, and I've had significant others that never listen to the show. And I'll tell you, I prefer the ones that don't listen to the show.
Well, the thing is, with my wife who's listening, the problem is, especially back when she was in the office, people she worked with will come and tell her what I've said on the air on one or the other station, so she can't get away from it. 30 seconds.
Post. Terms and conditions apply.
More than the scores, the ups and downs, the ins and outs. Real, unfiltered sports talk. It's the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Y'all, I just stop the wrestling stories, man. I think I have said anything goes on this show. I want to have fun with this show. ESPN, I wrestled a guy in a white singlet. I squeezed him so hard he soiled himself and had and I'm going to stop the text now, just say, suffice to say, he mentions the fact that the back half of his singlet was ruined. Wrestlers are gross. I respect the sport and the prowess required to succeed in it, but y'all are freaking gross, man.
Hey, cutting weight is no joke. And sometimes, especially back in the day, there are certain questionable methods to lose said weight, and like X-Lax, and it comes back to haunt you in the worst kind of situations.
God, what is wrong with y'all? I would rather hang out in a locker room full of football players post-match with that locker room smell than hang out with wrestlers at this point. No disrespect to wrestlers. Y'all just gross. You just are. All right, so played this audio for you. I want to play it again. Early this morning on First Take, Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman were joined by one of the quarterbacks who is in the greatest of all time so far conversation. I'm just going to play the audio and then we're going to react to it. Here is what said quarterback had to say.
A couple things Molly left off the resume was not only were you 4-0 in the Super Bowl, but you threw 13 touchdowns to 0 interceptions in the Super Bowl. And unlike a lot of great players who simply remain themselves and great under pressure, you consistently got even better when the stakes were the highest. You were one of those clutch players, in fact, not just by reputation, of all time. And insofar as there was ever a consensus that there was a GOAT among quarterbacks before Brady, it was you. Joe Montana was the guy, it seems, that Tom Brady has now replaced as the consensus GOAT. How do you feel about that? Is there a GOAT in the NFL? Was it you? Has Brady replaced you?
I think Tom has, taken his place on the top up there a long time ago. So he's had a tremendous career. It's fun to watch. And everybody always contests over that. But I think if you look at what Tom's been able to accomplish in his time that he's played, I think is puts him definitely up there in the top of the list. There's a lot of great guys. As I said before me, even you go back to Otto Graham, who won 10 or 11 championships. So it's hard to compare them, but if you're looking at it, yeah, definitely Tom at that point.
So he says if you're comparing all the GOAT quarterbacks, it's, quote, definitely Tom, end quote. Now
you just misquoted him.
No, I didn't. That's literally the last words he said.
Because you forgot to mention it's definitely that would be the exact quote, I think.
I think you're reading into an old guy coughing on a Zoom interview a little much there, Zoe.
Am I? I think you're not reading enough into it.
I think you're reading into an old guy coughing into a live microphone. What the heck was that, me?
So my question for you, though, okay, so if you want to go with that, that's fine. But what about, so Michael Jordan, obviously he's the greatest of all time because he went to all those, he went to all those finals and he won them all. So LeBron could never be the greatest of all time, which means that Tom Brady could never be the greatest of all time. That's how that works.
What? That's the opposite. That's the opposite of the thing you just said. What? So you started going one direction and then you just turned around and went right back the other direction.
Sorry, I saw an email from somebody and it just threw me completely off.
Oh, great. Now I got to go check my email segment too.
Yeah, because you're on it.
Oh, perfect. Even better. Lonzo, you sound overmodulated on StreamYard. All right. Well, I'll turn that down just a touch. How's that? Let's see if that works out better. All right. So here's all I have to say.
I do not believe that Joe Montana believes that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. Joe Montana
was just bold-faced lying
on a
talk show.
He was coughing the entire time. I didn't see his face. Was he smiling?
So they asked him the question. And for those of you not on the stream, this is where it gets important for you to be on the stream because you can actually see what we're saying and doing here. I'll show Zoe what he did. They asked him the question, and he said, has Tom Brady replaced you as the GOAT? And Joe Montana starts off the interview by going like this, Lonzo. He goes, and then he leans back into the mic. All right? I will acknowledge that. So for those of you who can't see me, which is most of you, he puts his hand to his face, like covers up his nose and his mouth. He leans back. He looks up, away, and to the left. He kind of chuckles into his palm, and then he leans back into the mic and then starts talking about how Tom Brady is the GOAT.
I just want to point out that I hadn't seen the video, and that definitely lends a lot of credence to what I was saying just from listening to the audio. So thank you for helping me make my point that he doesn't believe it.
So your argument here is that that Joe Montana is just too humble to defend himself in the GOAT conversation. That's what you're going with. The Joe Montana is just a humble guy who isn't going to pump himself up on a show where they set him up to pump himself up against Max Kellerman not look like the bad guy.
No, that's not what they're doing. They want him to say he's the greatest of all time so they can prove that he isn't. And he's not playing their game. He's playing them, which is exactly what he did. And you know why? Because that's what the greatest of all time would do.
Bum, bum, bum. Quick break. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
QC Kinetics.
You're listening to the Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
From the 106.3 WORD Weather Center, here's the Upstate's most trusted
ESPN alert's
forecast
going crazy on my
on
phone. What's happening?
Upstate. Mostly sunny skies this afternoon with a high around
Israel
71.
Adesanya says he doesn't want to talk about John Jones, accuses him of clout shrouding off of Adesanya's
sunshine with
fights.
highs in the 50s. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Fruchitz.
And LeBron James releases first look photos of Space Jam: A New Legacy, and also discusses plot of the upcoming movie. Let's go.
Hey, I was going to say, that is part of Twitter trending topics is the Space Jam.
Let's go. Kind of excited about that. Let's see. Space Jam: A New Legacy will feature cameos from basketball stars including Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, Chris Paul, Draymond Green, Kyle Kuzma, Diana Taurasi, Nika Ogwumike, and Shini Ogwumike. In the interview, James said he passed it first when he approached 15 years ago to star in a new Space Jam because he didn't think I was ready to do anything of that magnitude. But since then, blah, 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 blah. I just want to see the photos, ESPN. Here we go.
I say they're all over Twitter.
Well, they brought Lola back. I don't know. How do we feel about the new jerseys? Are we on board? I don't think I hate them. They're not as good as the OG jerseys, but I don't think I hate them. Also, LeBron's got that Thor lightning going on the basketball.
He does.
I don't hate it. Yo, look at Tweety Bird bringing the mean face. bring in the meme mug.
With new technology and everything, this is going to be excellent, I believe.
I'm all in. I'm all in. By the way, do you need me to send you the McGregor Dana White story? Do you want it?
Or you can just talk about it because I can't find it.
Oh, dang it. It's not Dana White. It's Joe Rogan.
That's why I can't
That's
find
why you can't find it. I'll send it to you. Bum, bum, ba-da-da. Bum, ba-da-bum. All right, just send it to you on the Book of Face. I got to tell you, Zoe, at this point, I kind of want to get a house just to do shows outside on days like today.
Yeah, but then you might have to contend with geese. 30 seconds.
Made for upstate sports junkies.
These pathetic junkies? Come on, look at them.
You eat sports like food every day. Get hooked on the Rob Brown Show, noon to 3 every weekday on ESPN Upstate.
All right, wrap it up. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show. Space Jam photos have just dropped on Twitter. For those of you on the stream, I was just able to share those with you. You're going to want to check that out. Come to our stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/The Rob Brown Show, or search us at The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. Join the stream, chat with us, interact with us during the breaks. It's a lot of fun. Plus, we can talk about Space Jam. We will come back here in just a minute. Fight Club at 2:20, your home for combat sports around the upstate. Lonzo's got you covered with everything MMA and wrestling, not the Greco-Roman kind, because it's gross, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. And plenty more. The third hour's booked solid, y'all. The Rob Brown Show rolls on after this. It's ESPN Upstate.
ESPN.
And remember, everybody on the stream, if you leave a comment on whatever platform you're watching us on, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, that comment will come to us live on our feed here on our thing. We can even pop it up onto the screen like Brian, who said, Rob, look into the NASCAR race this weekend on dirt tracks. They're driving different cars. Now, they're going out to Vegas this weekend, but it's not a dirt race, right? Aren't they dirt racing? They're dirt racing at Bristol. They only added one dirt race, right? Yeah, they got the dirt track at Bristol, which, by the way, the pictures are out of what that track looks like dirted over, and I'm kind of excited about it. But I'll have to check and say, I didn't think there was a dirt race this weekend. However, I'm down for him. I mean, I hope this Bristol dirt race goes really, really well, because if it does, maybe they'll start adding more of them. Maybe they'll have more of them in NASCAR seasons moving forward. I love some dirt racing, man. I've started going to some of the dirt races at like TR Speedway, and they are a blast, man. Steven, so what movie are y'all excited about coming out? Mine would have to be Justice League Snyder's Cut. Yeah, we'll talk about that in the next break. Steven, stick around.
check this out.
Your unofficial Rob Brown Lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown!
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show starts now. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob Brown and Lonzo with you. Headed into hour number 3. Coming up in about 15 minutes. Fight Club. Zoe is going to bring us through everything combat sport related that you need to know headed into the weekend. A recap of everything going on in the world of MMA, WWE, AEW, NXT, and everything else. So make sure that you are sticking around for that. Spring baseball on TV. Got the Mets right now taking on the Nationals. And you had better believe, I love spring baseball. And I love it for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is a beautiful, beautiful game. I mean, these guys are out here. Most of the guys that are out here are playing to make a roster, man. I mean, they're playing their guts out. If you are looking for guys who are playing because they love the game, you can't get any more playing because they love the game than the guys trying to make a roster in spring baseball. Second off, and this is kind of cool. I want to see this. We talked about this last year. We talked a lot about during spring baseball last year, right? Spring baseball last year and the last couple of years have done this really interesting thing where they're trying to make the players on the field more accessible, right? And one of the things that they have been doing is interviewing players live while they're on the field playing defense, like talking to center fielders. And heck, I think they did an interview a year or two ago with a guy who was in the box taking an at-bat. It was one of the stars. Guy knows he's on the team already, but they got a guy in the box at an at-bat. Who was it? Was it Freddie Freeman? It was a Braves player. I think it was Freddie Freeman. And they're talking to this dude, and he's calling out what he's looking for. Oh, I'm going to sit on a fastball here. I'm looking outside. I'm going to try to push. It was great. And then they have him listening to him while he's running the bases. Well, this year they're doing something that I think is super cool. They are keeping a cell phone in each dugout that is connected to, I guess, a Zoom conference call that is connected to their feed. And they're having guys, as they come off the field on defense, getting ready for an at-bat, they just pick up this cell phone and start having a live discussion. Pick up the cell phone and start having a live discussion with the players on the field. These guys are passing the cell phone off to each other left and right. They're laughing. They're joking. It's absolutely fantastic. When we went into the COVID season last year where we were playing games with no fans in attendance, the NBA's bubble, the NFL early season especially, they were starting to give us these different angles and perspectives that we had never got. They had to spice up the broadcast, right? There was no way anymore to take time to look at the fat guy with no shirt on eating nachos. Look at the lady out in right field taking selfies with their ice cream. Ha ha ha. They didn't have that anymore. And so now they are going to the point where they're having to give us different perspectives on the game. And I kind of love it. I hope they stick around. I really do. Spring baseball, and they are fans in attendance. I'm watching again the Nats and the Mets right now. They're playing in Florida, I believe. Watched some Braves games earlier in the week as well. But I'm kind of interested in seeing if some of these new perspectives that the broadcasts are giving us, guys on cell phones, on Zoom meetings. Earlier, they had a guy who was like in between innings pitching, who was on a Zoom meeting. I hope they stick around. I really do. I like that perspective. That was my big thing when we went into the coronavirus protocols, though. That made me the most excited was the new perspectives on the game. When we were in the bubble last year, they went with that rail cam next to the court. So you're actually watching the NBA game play out as if you were standing right next to the court. And they have intensified the acoustic, the natural sound microphones that are on the sides of fields and courts so you can hear what the players are saying, which can be dangerous. We know that, but they've done a pretty good job of censoring it out. I love all of these different aspects we're seeing as we watch sports in the coronavirus period. I just really hope they stick around. If Major League Baseball did on its regular national broadcast what they do during spring training, baseball would be a far less, and I love baseball, and I can absolutely watch an entire baseball game, no questions on TV, but I know a lot of people cannot and do not. Oh, it's too boring. I tune in for the first few innings. I tune in for the last few innings, whatever. If they got to the point where they're talking to players while they're in center field, where they have a permanent Zoom connection set up to both dugouts and they're calling players over to talk to them, etc., it would make on-television baseball games way more interesting, much more connected to the fans. I really would like this stuff. I mean, COVID made us make a lot of adjustments, right? And at every level of sports broadcasting. I mean, Lonzo and I have had to make a ton of adjustments to how we do the show. Some of them have been great. It's one of the reasons we wanted to start up this stream that you can join at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/The Rob Brown Show, or youtube.com/The Rob Brown Show. You can be involved in the show and interact with us more than ever before. I mean, that might have come up had we not had the coronavirus protocols and me not. But when we went to the point that the hosts are working from home, the producers are still in studio, and you understand how important nonverbal communication is between Lonzo and I, between Mark and Diesel while we're doing these shows, we had to establish a link so that we can interact with each other. But it couldn't just be a regular Zoom meeting. We had to be able to mute it and interact and have it in real time, etc. And then we thought, why not make it a stream? Why not make it where listeners can interact, can join us as well? And so here we are. Some of them are going to stick around, some of them not. But Zoe, I really hope, Major League Baseball primarily, but the NBA as well, I hope they stick with some of these adjustments they've made because, damn, the games are more interesting when we can get that much closer to them.
I do agree that it makes it cooler, but I'm worried that when things go back to normal, that they'll stop doing this. And one thing that happens with this is you start to get a better grasp of the personalities that are actually announcing these games. You get to learn a little bit more about them, and I think that's cool. And as you said, interviewing a player while he's out on the field, that's never been done before, really, and that is an awesome thing because that gives you a chance to learn something about a player that you probably would only learn by being on the internet or something, but you get to hear it in their own words, what their perspective is while they're out there. I think that really is a really good added dimension.
Absolutely.
And I was shocked when they started doing some of this because I'm always thinking like a producer and always worry, especially in the NBA, that it would be nearly impossible to do because of the amount of swearing and the FCC, but somehow they are able to do it.
Yeah.
Although you will hear gaps in sound every once in a while, and that's someone being dumped. But still.
Yeah, and I know like with live broadcasts, there's usually a 5 to 7 second delay. And on radio, what's our dump button? It's like a 5-second delay, I think.
It's enough. I don't like giving out the exact time because then someone may want to test it.
Fair enough. It's got a number of seconds. So if somebody says a naughty word, Zoe can turn around and push a button and it dumps X amount of seconds worth of the feed. And I know they have that in TV as well. When I was doing news, like we had to have that ready. And it's not as much on TV. TV is much more live than radio. But, they've done a good job of protecting against that, and it's impressive. I know that the biggest problem that you're going to have when you get to regular season ball is while Freddie Freeman might be willing to do an interview and talk live on television while he's in the batter's box taking an at-bat, he's going to be far less likely to do that when the games that are getting played actually count, right? When the games that are getting played actually count, Freddie Freeman's not going to want to be in the box taking an interview, but first, second, third inning, it's a 0-0 game, Braves and Nationals. I mean, there's going to be some guys that are willing to jump on the Zoom meeting from the dugout and talk a little bit. And like I said, if you're a baseball fan who watches the baseball for the entertainment, you're probably not seeking out a bunch of Freddie Freeman interviews and post-game press conferences on the internet afterwards. But if he's giving you those takes live and in real time from the dugout in game, and you're watching for the entertainment of baseball, that's going to up that tremendously, I think.
I am curious, though, because baseball seems to be the purest sport. It's a sport full of purists, not the purest sport.
Yeah, I was like,
and,
what?
Yeah. So baseball seems to be a sport full of purists who do not change any at all. I wonder, the things that we think are cool, do those guys, older people, that have watched baseball forever, do they really dislike all this extra stuff?
For the record, and I've established this many times, and I'll establish it one more time. I don't care. I don't care. There is not, you are absolutely right. Baseball has the loudest, maybe largest, but certainly loudest group of traditionalist fans of all of the professional leagues around America. And it's like every time somebody comes along and goes, let's change it up, they're the ones that explode. And I don't care. The game every game evolves. It has to evolve. Of course it evolves. All we're talking about is the entertainment aspect. I'm not even asking you to change the game. I'm just saying, let's keep it to where we can interact with the ball players in game more often. Let's keep it to where we can get more insight. Let's get it to where players are telling us more their perspective of what's happening on the game. I think it's fantastic, man. I think it's fantastic, and I'd love to see more of it. 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Let's take a break. When we come back, Fight Club, Lonzo guides us through everything you need to know about what's going on in the world of combat sports. That's coming up next. I'm Rob Brown. He is Lonzo, and this is The Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and...
All right, a couple of comments that have come on the stream. My buddy Carter says, okay, I'm a younger guy and I can be... Okay, first off, Carter, we are not younger guys anymore. All right, brother? We're in our mid-30s now. We are.
You're younger to me.
Oh, yeah, but you're not a younger guy either, Lonzo. Relatively speaking, we are the younger guys, but we are not younger guys, Carter. You and I both know that. I can be a bit of a purist, but I love this stuff. Just don't mess with the game and destroy the DH. I don't care what they do with the DH. Have it, don't have it, I don't care. Just have it across the league, man. It's so nonsensical to be in a spot where half the league plays by some rules and half the league don't. Could you imagine if half the NBA played with a three-point line and half the league didn't, right? The East has three-pointers and the West doesn't. It'd be obnoxious. It really would. Steven says, so what movie coming out are you guys most excited about? Mine would have to be the Justice League Snyder's Cut. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think, honestly, Zoe, I mean, Spider-Man in December is probably it for me. I can't say Justice League Snyder's Cut because I had nothing for Justice. I should have been ramped up about Justice League, but I had nothing for Justice League. So redoing Justice League, even if it's Zack Snyder, I'm just like, all right, man. I mean, I'm going to do it, but a 4-hour, I'm for movies being long, but a 4-hour, 1 minute long movie to turn a garbage heap into a diamond. I good luck.
All right. Let me do two things at once. First, Alyssa, go ahead and say something to me. There we go. I can hear you. And yeah, and now I'm going to go back to answering that question. All right. So things are tested and ready to go. Cool. All right. So I am looking forward to the Snyder Cut, obviously, because I'm not one of those people who goes, I'm Marvel and DC is dark and they don't know what they're doing.
That's not why I do it.
But I said I'm not one of those people. Obviously, you feel guilty like maybe I was implying that you were one of those people, which I was not.
You were.
I'm talking to the audience. I wasn't, there's more than you listening right now. So you seem to be a little defensive about that. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, just a tad bit. I never said the word goose in there anywhere. So no need for anger. But I am looking forward to Kong versus Godzilla, which is coming out here pretty soon.
Yeah, good call. Good call.
I want to see what the next Matrix looks like. There are. Well, see, I want to see what they do, because I thought all along that Neo was just a program, and people said I was stupid. And now, how else could he come back unless he's a program? How could he have done it multiple times and look exactly the same? It's because he's a program. Anyway, so there are some movies coming out, but the problem is theaters around here aren't open, so you're stuck with either watching them on pay-per-view, or if you have HBO Max, there's a ton of movies coming out that you can watch on that. And so that's where I will be watching Kong versus Godzilla. And I keep saying that things are spoiling about that movie, and I think Rob may actually be right, that there might actually be a certain other monster that was built show up, because toy lines notoriously will spoil.
Right.
Toy line will come out, and you got these guys who want to be the first ones to spoil everything and go, hey, we just saw this on a toy line. I don't want to know. I mean, what is the advantage to being the person who spoils? I mean, is there a certain satisfaction to going, got him? I mean, what is that? If you're a spoiler like that, I think you're a big jerk. But, that's just me. And it's not really journalism, is it? I mean, unless, I don't know. But there are some decent movies coming out, and we still are waiting for Black Widow, which is, filmed and done, and want to be able to see it. Top Gun 2's done. I want to see it.
I am excited about Top Gun 2.
Even though, Tom just went totally nuts, and they caught that on the "if you don't wear a mask" thing tirade, which was interesting to watch.
You know what? I was fine with that tirade, not because of the.
And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants. I'm a bad man.
I gotta say, if you're watching on the Facebook feed at ESPN Upstate, you gotta know that I enjoy when I get a chance to cut Rob off about something that we're going to disagree about, because I guess you could say that's fighting, and this is the Fight Club, so we can get into that eventually. All right, so lots of things going on this weekend, and want to make sure that we have time to get into these. My biggest question before we get into them, though, there are 2 pay-per-views on this weekend. And if you have to pick one, text line 71307 or messages on Facebook on the live feed. If you have to pick between one of these, because they're both expensive, we've got AEW Revolution coming Sunday, and that is a $59.99 pay-per-view. We also have UFC 259 coming Saturday night, and that is a $69.99 pay-per-view. So if you're buying both of them, you're dishing out, $140, $130, something like that. I don't have that kind of cash. I don't think most people have that kind of cash. So you got to pick between one or the other. And I know that show for men, exactly which one they would put. Well, no. Actually, they'll probably watch The Bachelor or something, because it's you're picking between UFC and wrestling, and what do you do there if you're them? I don't know, but this is definitely a dilemma for me, because I will say that I want to see AEW, but I also want to see the UFC card, and my wife is already messaging, and I know which one she's going to choose, so I know which one I'm probably going to end up watching, and it won't be the wrestling.
You need more TVs, Lonzo.
Oh, I got the TVs. It's more about the cash than it is the TVs. So anyway, UFC 259 coming up.
You got this, buddy. This is the part where I'm supposed to start talking and cover up, Lonzo. So that's what I'm doing here. UFC card this weekend. Israel Adesanya getting back up against John Blachowicz.
Now sorry, I'm having these spring allergies. And it just hit me because I was pushing my voice too hard.
Gosh, if only I knew something about that.
Yeah, I need to go back to the laid back Lonzo answers. If I do it this way, then I might be okay. I try to bring a little more energy in the Fight Club, but
Ladies and gentlemen,
yes,
welcome to Fight Club, your home for combat sports around the upstate.
Now I see Barry White out there getting ready to fight.
But man, Barry White. Barry White should do the introductions to these. For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get it on.
That's not Barry White, but that works. All right,
I was trying to make a connection. Just do the segment.
Okay, all right. So Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz. Blachowicz,
I think.
Blachowicz. It doesn't matter. I can't say his name, but I do like him. He's a good fighter. He's a champion. Do you have a problem with all these guys going up weight classes to take on other champions? Because I think it demeans the champion that's at that weight class. What they're saying is you're not really that good. You're just there because there's nobody of my caliber to beat you. I do like Israel Adesanya, and I kind of want to see this fight, but I like Jan more. And it may be the contrarian in me because a certain member of my family, my daughter, really likes Israel Adesanya, and so I kind of want him to lose just because of that, and that's just wrong. It's wrong on me, but I like Jan. So there's a good fight. Also, we got Amanda Nunes going up against Megan Anderson. I do want to see Nunes lose eventually because right now she's just so dominant and it's effortless, and you want to see her have some competition. Also, Petr Yan. I just love how they say it. I can't say it's Pietr. I can't say it because
did it.
Yeah. Well, in my mind, I can't do it. Going up Alahame. See, here's the problem. When you have sinuses, you cannot pronounce names from people from other countries. So anyway, Petr Yan going up against Sterling. And I like Petr Yan too. So I don't know what to do here. And then you got Thiago Santos going up against Alexander Rakic. And those are your main cards. So some pretty good main card fights with some big names. And then the headline of the prelims is Dominic Cruz getting back in the octagon going up against Casey Kenny. So that will be the main event of the prelims. And that's on ESPN. So you'll be able to see that before the pay-per-view starts. So again, my question is, and this is to you, Rob, as well as the listeners, which one do you choose? And we're going to get into the AEW and why I kind of want to see it.
You know I'm an AEW stan, man. You know I'm a fan, but this is one of the more stacked cards we've had in a while for UFC 259. I am a big Israel Adesanya guy. The last fight I watched, he hooked me the last fight that I watched, and now that he's on, I would argue, one of the most impressive trajectories in the UFC of any of the. I mean, we can talk McGregor circa back in what was it 2015? He became a double champ and does what the blank he wants to do. Daniel Cormier had the kind of same trajectory. Nunes has it over on the women's side, but Adesanya to me feels different, man. He just feels different. He feels like a different fighter. He might be, Lonzo, and this is why I think I like him. He might be the most versatile fighter of any weight class right now. The dude has some lethal strikes, but if it goes to the mat, he can be deadly down there too. There's no part of the game. Like when we've talked about guys like McGregor in the past, we've said, look, get McGregor on the ground. It's your best chance to beat him. Daniel Cormier, same thing. Stay away from the real close strikes. Keep him at length and you can beat Daniel Cormier. I don't see that with Israel Adesanya. The dude is lethal in every aspect of the game. He is. There's no weakness in his game. His nickname is the last style bender, and it's for a reason. Now, Adesanya has never fought a light heavyweight under the UFC banner, and obviously there's a 20-pound gap between the two classes that he's going to be fighting in, which is the largest of any two weight classes. And then you've got Jan Blachowicz, who is a absolutely fantastic knockout artist, which means that Adesanya has to focus on one aspect of the game, which means you got to get him to the ground. But he has specifically said he does not think that Blachowicz has what it takes to knock him out. I don't know, man. I love this fight. I got to tell you, like I said, I'm an AEW stan, no doubt about it. But I think I might go UFC. This is a great card, 259.
And the other thing about Adesanya, he doesn't look like he should be able to do what he does. He looks too skinny. Doesn't look like he should last very long in the octagon, but he absolutely does. He's also a great dancer. Not that matters, but if you're a great dancer, you can dance on your way to the ring, get in the ring or the octagon, get in there and still be able to do your thing. That shows that you've got great stamina also. And we'll see how versatile he is to go up that much weight and actually
Go up that much weight and fight a power guy at it too, right? Like those 20 pounds make a difference.
And Jan is
a brick fist.
Yeah, Jan is built solid too. Yeah. And it's definitely going to be interesting. All right.
Who do you got? I got to make you go on the record. Who you got?
I'm going with Adesanya.
Yeah,
I gotta be realistic. I don't want him to win, but he's probably going to win.
Well, it's to me, this is one of those times where you can pretty much pick on what happens. If 50 to 60% of the time is spent on the mat, Adesanya wins. If Adesanya decides he wants to prove that Jan Blachowicz can't knock him out and they stand, I'll take Jan.
Well, we're going to see Saturday night. All right, so we usually would break down AEW Dynamite and NXT. We don't have a lot of time for that because of this pay-per-view, but I do want to mention one thing. I absolutely want to mention one thing about AEW. First of all, you're right. It was better all the way through than NXT was yesterday. It was a pay-per-view caliber show last night.
Yes, it was.
If they put those kind of shows on every week, they would have me sold, but they don't. But what they started out with was one of the most amazing things that I have seen in so long.
So good.
Shaquille O'Neal. First of all, he comes out and he's fit. He's in shape. You see him in the suits when he's in the studio with Chuck and all the boys, and you're thinking, man, he's still fat. And then now he's not NBA shape, but he's wrestling shape.
He's 50 plus years old. If I looked that good at my age, y'all would be impressed.
Yeah, absolutely. So he takes his shirt off, and I'm just immediately shocked. And when he's flashing the guns, I mean, there's no fat there. I mean, he's not like 0% body fat, but he looks good, especially for someone his age, like you said, and didn't do too bad in the ring.
Didn't do too bad. He looked good for a guy who's never done it in that capacity before. He was chopping Cody. I thought he was going to punch Cody's sternum through his chest.
Admittedly, those chops were awesome.
Oh, they were great.
You felt a chop before, so you know what they feel like.
That was like 95% Walter category chops right there.
Which is the standard, by
he
the way.
pulls off a power bomb on Cody that was as smooth as I've seen in years. He's throwing up the Brody Lee tribute as he's about to do it. He's taking shots from Cody. It was he took a chair shot and made it look great. And then, we ain't even talked about the big spot yet.
Yeah, let's face it, a chair shot on Shaq, unless you're someone equally of size or someone as in shape as like a Bobby Lashley, a chair shot's probably not going to do anything to him.
I mean, even still, for him to go, and you could tell, I don't know if you caught this, though, and this is why I loved it as much as I did. A lot of people were saying it was sweat. I don't know, but they cut to Shaq over in the corner about midway through the match. He didn't look all that sweaty to me, but he had a little something rolling down his nose. I think Shaq cracked up. This was a lifelong dream for this kid. And not only did he finally get to genuinely accomplish it, but he got to do it against the biggest name in that organization in the most hype match that AEW has had in a hot minute. And he got to actually, I've seen a lot of these where they take like the Jay Leno route where they just stand in the corner the whole match and then they get tagged in to come in, and drop a leg and pin. Yeah. And that's it. Shaq wrestled. The first 5-6 minutes of the match was Shaq wrestling. And it wasn't just rest holds and choke holds and then one move and ended. He wrestled. You could tell it genuinely got to him. And the way that he exited that match, or I don't know if you want to bring it up and talk about it. I do, because it was incredible.
All right, so 2 tables are set up. But by the way, we're not even mentioning Jade, who looked
great.
Yeah, she does. It does that much muscle. I don't think it's supposed to be on a person, but still, she pulls it off, and she did a really good job, and so did Red Velvet. I mean, and Cody, he's always going to do well. But they set up 2 tables, and you're thinking that one of the females is going to go through there. You think Jade's going to go through there, but no, Shaq went through there.
And not just like kind of got knocked. We've seen them before where like celebrities take a table bump, but they like kind of fall. No. Cody cross-body checked Shaq off the apron. He fell down. And when he hit Zoe, he was paralyzed. That was a bump that if a wrestler took, I'd be like, damn, bro, like that's a good bump. Shaq took it full out, parallel to the ground, all 700 pounds and 7'2" of that dude, square out. I got to tell you, I don't care what anybody says. Shaq put on a good wrestling match. Not like for a celebrity. In general, a good wrestling match.
What I'm upset about it, though, is why didn't you put that on your pay-per-view?
Look, as much as they've had
I know
Shaq,
you're trying to build things, and also you're trying to get people to buy your pay-per-view. But that was WrestleMania caliber.
I agree. But here's why. And I think it's brilliant. This is why AEW, to me, is going to get to WWE. I don't know if they'll pass them, but they're going to get up there to WWE levels. The reason why is because they have been promoting this outside of AEW, right? Like even the inside the NBA guys have been ribbing Shaq on that show for like minutes at a time.
Yeah, they can't say anything to him now, though.
No, not at all. They've been going after the dude. So you got all these old NBA guys, all these Shaq fans that go, all right, well, if Shaq's going to wrestle, I guess I got to watch it. But you know they're not going to dump $59 on a Saturday night to watch one match. So you put it on Dynamite, where it's on cable, on the channel, for free, and they tune in. And then what do? You follow that up with a pay-per-view caliber card. So if you had a guy who tuned in for Shaq, and you go, well, I'll just hang out for a few more minutes. Let's see if the rest of this is. And then they put on a show that was every bit as good as that first match from start to finish. I'll bet you, Zoe, they hooked a bunch of wrestling fans last night that maybe hadn't tuned into AEW, haven't seen it for a while. They used Shaq. And that's why they did it the opening match, too. I heard a lot of people, why not make it the main event? Because if I can get you in the door with Shaq and have Shaq put on a real wrestling match, you are going to stick around to see what else this company puts on the table. I think it was brilliant. They handled that exactly right.
There's another thing there, and it has to do with the competition. AEW and NXT, they're taking turns as far as putting a big match as the first match to see who can pull away those ratings from the first match. And I'm sure when the NXT found out that Shaq was the first match, they decided not to put, something else opposite it that would be, what they would consider that caliber. So, yeah, AEW won that night. Shaq won that night. But I will say, as impressive as Shaq was, he's no Pat McAfee. But, no one is.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pat McAfee's also 20 years younger than Shaq.
There is that. Yeah, absolutely. And we also have Paul White on that show.
So underwhelming for his debut. His shirt sucks.
Yeah, but about the shirt wasn't that bad.
It was bad.
It was not that bad. All right, so but there was a question that he asked, and there are rumors about who that is, but we're going to wait till Twitter trending topics to talk about that.
All right.
Yes.
We can talk about it now. We can do them both.
I would rather wait till Twitter. So if you don't know, then you're going to have to tune in to the end of the show. And that would be the first thing we talk about. All right, so let's get to the pay-per-view itself. Starting with, let's see, where do we want to start? All right, Miro and Kip Sabian versus the best friends, or the best friends that are left, which is James and your boy
Charles.
I'm sorry. Why did I say James?
Charles the Butler.
Because I'm thinking Butler, and when I think Butler, I think James.
I'm going to straight up go from that rivalry has gone from goofy and quirky at the beginning. Miro's promo last night, I was all in. Man. I love it. And Orange Julius. Wow. I want an Orange Julius right now. Orange Cassidy, as Zoe knows and hates, has become my favorite worker. I love that guy. I'm super in for that. I would buy that.
Don't put that hate on me. I love Orange Cassidy.
I thought you didn't like that guy.
No. It must be somebody else, but it's not me, man. I love that. I love that guy. You can thank Jericho for putting him over too.
Fair enough.
Because all those matches with Jericho really put him over. And when he finally got on the mic, he did not disappoint.
No, not at all.
And luckily, he hasn't continued to do that and stuck with his character and went back to being,
I like it, right? It made it more, the one time he talked, it made it super impactful. It made you know that this mattered to him, even if he doesn't show it. And now I love this guy, man.
All right, so who you got in that match?
I'm going to take Miro. I'm going to take Miro. They're not going to set him up to look like that. I don't know what the repercussions are for it, but I'm going to take Miro and I
don't think there are any, but I do like the fact that that Miro is saying, "Come back home."
Yeah,
Charles, come back home.
Yeah.
So he really wants his Butler back. All right, street fight: Sting and Darby Allin versus Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. I'm looking forward to this because can Sting take it? I mean, he took that hard bump. He even talked about it last night, about how he took that bump. Everybody was concerned about it, but now he's going to be in his element, being able to use his bat, being able to use whatever, but he's going up against some really young guys. And Darby Allin, although a great wrestler and can take a lot of punishment, not the biggest of guys. And Cage that dude's well put together.
They are not. The only reason they made this a street fight is to give a reason that Darby Allin and Sting, a 5'9", 180-pound dude, and how old is Sting? Like, he's got to be in his mid-50s.
I believe he's 54.
Yeah, mid-50s. So, kind of a little guy and an old guy versus two guys that are absolutely in their prime. The only reason they made this a street fight was to justify Sting and Darby Allin winning. Which they will, I think, and I think it sets us up for an even longer run. But I'm with you. I just want to see if Sting still go. I want to see if he can still go. I mean, I'm watching Matt Hardy out there, barely able to walk, putting on a match, and Sting looked pretty good, taking bumps the last couple of weeks. I'm in for that fight.
Yeah, I'm with you though. I think Sting and Darby Allin win the match. All right, let's see. Face of the Revolution ladder match: Cody Rhodes versus Scorpio Sky versus Penta versus Lance Archer versus Max Caster. I think. I will say, out of these guys, the guy who I would like to see win would be Scorpio Sky. He had a good push for a while. I think dude is very, very talented, and then he just kind of dropped off. I don't know if it was due to injury or what, but you didn't see him for a long time, and I think he has the capabilities and the best shot at winning this match.
He was on, I don't know if you got to watch last night. They had him on the mic for commentary for a prelim match that to get into that. I think Scorpio Sky's got to get a good chance. I think Cody's in there just as a distraction. I don't think he's going to win and take away from another dude. I like to pick a Scorpio Sky. I don't hate that. Everybody else in there, could use a push, but Scorpio Sky has got an incredible amount of talent. So yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
All right, big money match: Hangman Page versus Matt Hardy. You were just talking about Matt Hardy. The Hangman Page angle of being an alcoholic has been used a bunch, but man, he pulls it off. So I don't know if he really is one or not, but he does it well. The drunk cowboy thing.
I don't know if you noticed this. The last couple of weeks, they've kind of taken away from that. It hasn't really been that prominent, and
except for at the bar when he signed the contract.
Yeah, but you saw what happened. Like he took Matt Hardy for a ride, using that as a distraction, right? Hardy thought Page was hammered, got him to sign the contract. Page switched the contracts out to take advantage of Hardy, and immediately cut to an interview where he's like, "Yep, got him." I appreciate. Listen, there's two ways to use that angle. One is the way they did it with Jeff Hardy in that Sheamus fight, which I didn't love. The other is to do what they've been doing with Hangman Page the last few weeks, which I do love. I'm excited about this one, but I think Hardy ends up winning it. The fact that they've made such a big deal out of Hardy being willing to pay guys to come in and help him, you're not going to convince me he's not going to do that again in this match.
You know what I'm excited about is someone who's either sitting at a grocery store right now listening or on their way to the grocery store listening to his favorite segment of this show. That's what I'm excited about. All right, let's see. Tag team titles between the Young Bucks and Chris Jericho and MJF. The build up to this has been pretty good.
Really good. Really.
Is this when Sammy Guevara comes out and does something? Because he hasn't been there.
Nope.
And he's going to have to do something eventually. And I know he will be here in town.
Yep. So
next
Darby,
month.
right?
Yeah, at the South Carolina Comic Con.
Spoiler alert.
Yes. I gotta think the young Bucks lose the match, but not because of Sammy, because of somebody else.
I'll be intrigued, and I think I have an idea of who you're talking about. The setup that they used with Jericho, and by the way, if there's a better heel in all of wrestling right now than MJF, I don't know who it is. That guy is killing it.
He reminds me so much of this kid I grew up with.
Man, he reminds us. He reminds us all of a kid we grew up with.
Everybody's got that punk that's like MJF that hangs around with you. You don't know why you keep him around.
Yep. My kid in high school was a kid named Brent. Couldn't stand that dude, and he was MJF. I think that's why he's one of the best in the game.
And
right
mine
now.
Was a guy named Jerry.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Just so you know, we both put names to it.
So I'm intrigued to see this. The setup with, here's the thing, everybody said, they're not going to let Jericho and MJF bloody up the Young Bucks' dad and then not win. But the thing is, I like that that's a move to really send the Young Bucks over the top. I don't wonder if they don't DQ themselves by going overboard. But that's going to be a fantastic tag team match.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's finish it up by going with the match that makes me want to buy a pay-per-view. The first one that makes me want to buy an AEW pay-per-view, and I know they've all been good, but this one makes me want to purchase this. It is a barbed wire death match, and I just want to see a barbed wire death match. But
exploding barbed wire.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the exploding. Yeah. I forgot that part. The fact that my favorite wrestler, Jon Moxley, is in this match going up against Kenny Omega, and what a heel turn and way to pull it off.
Oh,
I know he's been a heel in the past in Japan, but he hadn't been since AEW started, and he pulls it off so good, and everyone around him is helping him a bunch too. But I really want to see this match, and I don't think it's going to go the way I want it to. I think Kenny Omega retains. It sucks. I'd like to see Jon Moxley win, but I don't think he's going to.
I don't know, man. I have no idea. I really don't, and that's why I love this match as much as I do. I don't know what to expect about any aspect of it. I've never watched an exploding barbed wire match, and to the point that when they brought it into the discussion,
exploding barbed wire death match,
I immediately I was like, I should go to YouTube and watch some of the old Japanese matches, and I'm not going to do it because I don't know what the hell to expect, and I don't want to. I want it to be my first one. I don't know, man. There's a lot of comeuppance due to Kenny, to the Good Brothers, to the Impact guys. And if there's somebody that's gonna dish it out, it's gonna be Moxley, and his promos have been spot on the last couple weeks. I have no idea what to expect out of the match. I just know I am ridiculously excited about it.
All right, I kind of hope that the barbed wire explodes on Don Callis because I just want to see his reaction when that happens. All right, one last thing as we go to break. Jim Crockett Jr. Passed away yesterday at the age of 76.
Heard about that. One of the preeminent names in wrestling, no doubt about it. 844-477-3776. Send your thoughts to 71307 on the text line. Started with ESPN. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Quick break. Back after this. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's ESPN Upstate.
You're listening to the Rob Brown Show. Let the game come to you.
Wrestling. My buddy Brandon yesterday on Barstool got to interview Jericho. And
did he?
Yeah, he interviewed Jericho, like a full interview. It was awesome.
Oh, that's cool. I saw he was at the beginning for that press conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, man, that dude's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, he's killing it. I'm super proud of him. I also hate him.
You need a coattail. I mean, there's nothing wrong with coattailing.
Oh, I'm trying. I keep trying to have him on the show. The problem is he records his podcast while we're live. And if we're going to do an interview with him, I want you on it too. Like, I don't want to do it solo. So.
Well, let me throw out a suggestion there. If he's available on a Saturday evening.
That's true.
Not only could we do the show live on another station, but then we could take said interview,
pull it back over,
and bring it over here. We could do that
if
he's available. Because I know a guy that can make that happen on Saturday.
You ever have one of those friends that's like, you have a super great relationship with them, and the whole relationship is based around just mocking and making fun of each other and talking smack to each other? Like I would absolutely do anything for Brandon. He's a great guy and one of my favorite people. And all we do is relentlessly mock each other.
I will tell you that my former co-host on WORD on a show called The Scoreboard, Matt Tomlinson, he and I are still like that. And sometimes we don't see each other for 3 or 4 months. And when we do, that's what we do. And if we don't see each other, we do it on social media or through text. So, yeah, I definitely understand. That's how – I don't want to say it's alpha, but it is alpha. It's kind of alpha. And I have all this pent up stuff that I really wanted to talk stuff to people about when I was a kid, but I just didn't want to fight. And now I can do it on the air. So, that makes it so much better.
I was the night that he was on the Takeover pre-show, which I had no idea he was doing it. Like, I just turned on NXT and there's Brandon on my TV on WWE Net, which was great. The night he was on, the first thing I texted him was, are you going to give that jacket back to the homeless used car salesman that you stole it from? Like, that's the interaction we have. Like, he got the biggest moment of his entire career, which I fully take credit for because I gave him his start. You're welcome, Brandon. The first thing I said to him when he got the biggest moment of his career was, your jacket's ugly. Give it back to the homeless used car salesman you stole it from.
Now, see, I had some observations about that too, but I don't want to take a chance of ruining the chance to interview this guy, so I'm not going to say anything.
By the way, his text back to me was a picture of him shaking hands with Triple H. So he won. Like he won.
Yeah, he did. All right, when we come back, we'll only have like a couple minutes before we have to jump back to.
I'm legit. I'm going to read 2 texts and go right back to break.
Okay. I'm looking at the messages, and I think my wife might be leaning AEW.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Which honestly, I wouldn't blame. I mean, I could go either way. I'm going to be. Actually, no, I'm going to be at a wedding reception Saturday, so I won't get to watch either of them. Well, I'll get to watch one of them live. It'll just be on my phone.
Now, see, the smart person would find a way to get someone else to buy one pay-per-view, another member of the family, while we purchase that pay-per-view.
Right.
We'll see how that works out for me.
I will not be home, so I will probably off and on. You know what? I'll probably do the UFC fight on Saturday, put that on my phone, and then just push pause when I have to walk away to go do wedding reception-y thingies. And then watch AEW Sunday morning.
There you go. All right. We have 1 minute. No, actually, AEW is on Sunday night.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So I can't watch both. Actually, I'm not doing anything Sunday.
That was the thing. So I don't have to go either or because the possibility is there to watch both live.
True story.
It's a lot of money, though.
I don't know why I thought AEW was on Saturday for some reason.
Because they normally are, but they moved it to Sunday. I don't know why.
Because there's no WWE pay-per-view to go up against.
Well, that's true. 30 seconds.
Very short segment here.
ESPN News. He's not messing around. Real, unfiltered sports talk on the Rob Brown Show. ESPN Upstate.
Really short segment here. A couple of texts that have come in at ESPN. Rob Correction. It's these games make it more interesting for baseball fans. It's still a dying sport and hopefully will just die away. Overpaid players for blank poor viewing, end quote. At ESPN, Shaq took lessons from Bills fans. Well said. Well said. And finally, ESPN, I've noticed that some bookies take bets on WWE fake-style wrestling. If the outcome is predetermined and you could get your hands on the scripts pre-fight, you could make a ton of money. Right. Yes and no, because a lot of times they'll make changes to outcomes on the fly if they feel it's necessary. And B, those scripts are about the most like Nick Cage couldn't steal those scripts if he wanted to. That's how well protected they are. Quick break. I know it's a short segment, but we got it back on the clock so we can hit Twitter trending topics. When we come back, I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. It is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
You're listening to the Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
You know, we talked about in the last segment about how good Shaq looks from losing all that weight. Someone who's like me, maybe you're over 50 and maybe over 60. Hey, maybe even over 70 or 80. You know you need to lose weight, but you can't figure out how to do it. And you know that you feel like you're too old to go to the gym. You're too embarrassed to get out there. Well,
And I learned something during that live read there, Zoe, and it is I can actually cut your mic on my end. So that's fun.
Well, I think you no, you can't mute me. You just have to turn down the return.
No. Oh, yeah, that's what I did. So the audio that goes onto the stream from your end is what I'm listening to coming out of the comm racks. But because I have it coming out of the headphone slot instead of the line out slot, yeah, I just turn the return off on mic 2 or on slot 2, and I can basically take you out of the mix on my end. So you don't have to worry about doing it on your end for live reads.
Cool. So major lesson learned about when having allergies, to not push your voice too hard, or you may go into a nice coughing fit, as I did.
You remember last week, man, I had people texting me. They're like, you're not screaming into the mic. Are you okay? It's like, yeah, if I do, I die.
See, I thought I'm feeling better. It's the adrenaline from doing the show and everything. It's like, yeah, I'm good. And then it's like, no, I'm not. And when I take the allergy medicine, I'm done. I took some last night when I was at home, and I just can't do anything. I can't function.
ESPN made a huge offer to reunite Skip Bayless with Stephen A. Smith, but Fox Sports retained Bayless with a 4-year, $32 million contract. Are you kidding me? For Skip Bayless? Get out of here.
How do you think Max Kellerman feels about that?
Get out of here. They'd have moved Max back to moderator. Molly Rose would have been the one who got the shaft ultimately. I think.
Maybe. I don't know. One minute. And then the sun goes down right as I need to read. I don't know if you thank Jacob for the message, but I will thank you. Thank you, Jacob, for the message.
Did I miss him? Oh, I didn't. I was over on the banner section. Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate that, man. Very kind of you. We're glad to be doing it. I like it. It's got, like I said, it's an interesting way to interact.
The Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
All right, it's time for Twitter Trending Topics. Let me mellow it out because I almost did it again. Where I give Rob a topic that is trending on Twitter, and he will tell us what he knows about. The first thing trending is Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan is trending right now for reasons that are unknown to me, to tell you the truth. I imagine that it is in response to, and I'm making this up off the top of my head, I could be totally wrong, but LeBron James, a bunch of news about LeBron James dropped today, mostly the Space Jam stuff, and then there's some other stories that came around because of that. And anytime that LeBron starts trending on Twitter, the Michael Jordan stands come out en masse to get him up on the board as well. Bron lives free in the minds of Michael Jordan fans, Zoe, but why is he actually trending?
Yeah, you're right. But it's 4 years ago today, Michael Jordan said the ceiling is the floor.
The ceiling is the floor.
Or yeah.
No, Michael, those are two different things. If they were the same thing, then it would just be either the ceiling or the floor.
He's been made fun of about that.
Well, I guess so I live in a 2-story apartment, a 3-story apartment. There's a ceiling above me, and then right above that is the floor. But those are two separate entities, right? It's not like one solid piece that makes up my ceiling and the girl above me floor. So the ceiling is not even the floor in that case. Those are two separate things.
All right. The next thing that's trending is
Don. Like, screw this, we're done.
No, I want to make sure we have enough time. The next thing that's trending is Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle. He is, of course, one half of the tandem that made up the Iron Patriot. I saw earlier, and I don't know if this is why, but there were two stories I saw because Don Cheadle was trending, and anytime a Marvel actor comes up, I'm absolutely looking for it. But Don Cheadle, said he told the story about how he was offered the role of War Machine and turned it, or didn't initially take it because he was worried about a 12-year commitment. And B said he wants more opportunities for disabled actors in Hollywood. Both are cool stories.
That's not why he's trending, though. He's trending because of his picture for Space Jam 2.
He's in Space Jam 2.
Don Cheadle is in Space Jam 2.
Is he playing Wayne Knight's character?
I don't know.
Hilarious.
I don't know. That would be funny. All right, last one. CM Punk is trending.
It's not CM Punk. All right. I wish it was. It's not CM Punk. Here's the list of people that folks think it could be. Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, CM Punk, Chris Hero, Rush, Sami Callihan, Curtis Axel, Zack Ryder, Rob Van Dam. Pick one, Zoe. Who is it?
Mick Foley.
No, he ain't leaving WWE.
It's Mick Foley. You'll see.
No, it ain't. That's it for the show. Thanks for hanging out, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Ryan and Diesel up next with Offside. Stay tuned for that. They'll have all the AEW preview content you can handle. For Lonzo, appreciate all his hard work. As always, I'm Rob Brown. Jones Ricker Drive. I'll punch you in the face. See you tomorrow to do it all over again right here on The Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Those of you listening on the stream, appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We'll be back tomorrow to do it again. Tell your friends about it. Share it around social media. We'll see you